I'm asking you, did you actually get a single example from any creator who actually had to funnel booking through Chorus?
No.
Well, yeah, we spoke to a lot of creators that funneled booking through Chorus.
That's not what he said. I wish I could do this. This is such a good skill. Do for gaslighting, lying. Oh my God. Do you see how easily she just lied there? Hold on. Did you catch these lies? I'm not joking. It's impressive.
And also, that's, again, we did not receive any criticism of this. This is the first criticism that I've even heard of this.
Not relevant.
Well, I think it's important because I do think that it was...
I'm sorry you feel this way, but this is just completely
you don't need to apologize to me. I'm just...
I mean, it's just...
we got the unproductive, yes!
Completely unproductive.
I feel like you're becoming quite defensive and evasive right now.
No,
I feel...
Because I feel like I'm dealing with the white nationalists, because this is all...
What? And the second time? Remember earlier, she was like, this always comes from the right. 100% the white nationalist card has come out. Oh boy. Right. Content creators who challenged Kamala Harris, including Hassan Piker, a well-known influencer on the left, were similarly unwelcome at campaign events. And yeah, like you said, like the implication being, well, now the Democrats found a way around this to pay people who don't challenge them on these points.
But also, the words lightly and challenged are doing a lot of heavy lifting.
They always are in these, for her.
Hassan was not just challenging Kamala. He was accusing her of being complicit in a genocide.
Yes.
Lightly criticizing, and then I go to their page and it's like, Joe Biden has killed every fucking Palestinian baby. Like, it's just it was not a light criticism, at any of the examples that she gave.
A dark money campaign is paying influencers to frame Chinese AI as a threat. Build American AI, a nonprofit linked to a super PAC bankrolled by executives at OpenAI and Andreessen Horowitz, is funding a campaign to spread pro-AI messaging and stoke fears about China. In an Instagram video posted on April 1st, lifestyle influencer Melissa Strahl poses outdoors before an American flag as soft instrumental music plays. AI lets me focus on what matters most, she tells her 1.4 million followers. We need to invest in American-made AI to ensure America leads the way in innovation and job creation. Strahl labeled the post an advertisement, but she didn't disclose what organization had paid for it. It turns out the funding came from Build American AI, a dark money group tied to Leading the Future, a $100 million super PAC supported by, and in some cases directly funded by, tech figures affiliated with companies like OpenAI and Palantir. What a dog shit, horrible trash slop paragraph of stupid shit, but okay. The video is part of a coordinated influence campaign that Build American AI is funding, which is being rolled out on social media in 2 phases. The first focused on working with lifestyle influencers like Strahl, who did not respond to a request for comment to promote the U.S. artificial intelligence industry and American innovation. But the second and current phase of the campaign is all about China. Marketing agencies are pitching, Destiny's going to make me defend Taylor on some nuances here. No, don't worry, Shervin. Every single person knows that you were going to side with Taylor on this article. Don't worry. That was literally the least surprising thing to everybody. Marketing agencies are pitching influencers deals such as $5,000 per TikTok video to amplify Build American AI's messaging about how China's technological rise should be seen as a threat. The goal, according to a staffer from SM4, the influencer marketing agency running the campaign on behalf of Build American AI, is to subtly shift public debate by framing China's AI advancement as a serious risk to the safety and well-being of Americans. They want a push to mention China and America, and why beating China is so important, says the staffer. Sample messaging provided by Build American AI to content creators includes lines like, I just learned that China is trying really hard to beat the US in AI. If they do, it could mean that China gets personal data from me and my kids and take jobs that should be here in the US in the AI innovation race. I'm Team USA. Wired first learned about the campaign after this article's author was invited by SM4 to participate. The details were later confirmed by several other content creators who received similar outreach. Josh Murphy, an ecologist with over 130,000 followers on Instagram, who says he did not respond to SM4's offer, explains that while he's not necessarily against AI, combining generic praise for the technology with aggressive anti-China messaging felt off to him. AI can absolutely be utilized for the betterment of humanity, Murphy says, but this unregulated industry that we have right now, where it's just wacky tech bros that are pursuing greed at the expense of everything else, is just not what it's supposed to be. The United States has an opportunity to remain the global leader in AI innovation, and we're taking that message to the broadest possible audience through an all-of-the-above communication strategy. Jesse Hunt, a spokesperson representing Leading the Future, said of the campaign, dark money doomer groups have spent millions spreading misinformation to the American public, and we won't let it go unchallenged. We'll continue to highlight AI's economic benefits, counter false narratives, and build the coalition needed to advance a national regulatory framework using every tool at our disposal. Supporters of Leading the Future include OpenAI president and co-founder Greg Brockman, venture capitalist and Palantir co-founder Joe Lonsdale, venture capital firm Andreessen Horowitz, and AI company Perplexity, according to the PAC. Leading the Future says it has received $140 million in total contributions and commitments, with $51 million available to spend to push its pro-AI agenda as of April. The news site Notice called the group a massive political war chest for the AI industry. An OpenAI spokesperson says that OpenAI has no corporate affiliation with Leading the Future or Build American AI and has not provided funding or any other support to them. A spokesperson for Palantir says the company has also not contributed to either group. Perplexity declined to comment. Andreessen Horowitz did not respond to a request for comment. Oh, these are just individuals, I guess, not the actual. Okay, gotcha. Information wars. Leading the Future is trying to steer AI policy in the industry's favor. At a potentially pivotal moment, AI is shaping up to be a key issue in the 2026 midterms, and groups advocating for the industry are spending heavily to push back on growing public concerns about issues like data centers, energy use, and potential job displacement. Just this week, U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders promoted the claim that AI could pose an existential threat to humanity. Build American AI is trying to combat negative narratives about the technology by working with influencers on the platforms where Americans increasingly learn about current events. 53% of U.S. adults say they get at least some of their news from social media, and 38% of people aged 18 to 29 report regularly consuming news from influencers, according to recent polling by Pew Research Center. But influencers are not bound by journalistic ethical standards, and many do not always disclose who is funding their work. This is a lost battle at this point, but there is no such thing as like a journalistic ethical standard. This is not like a regulated thing. There is no board that certifies journalists. There are no like binding ethical. This is just a nonsense phrase, but Taylor likes to use it all the time, whatever. Well-funded super PACs and dark money groups have capitalized on that reality by funneling cash into influencer marketing agencies that pay content creators to promote specific narratives. As a result, many people scrolling their social feeds are likely unaware that they're absorbing political messaging from corporate interests. Consumers don't know where the information they're receiving is paid for, says Jamie Cohen, associate professor of media studies at Queens College. These influencers are accepting undisclosed money from the AI industry. They're promoting the messaging of specific companies, and the public has no idea. It is extremely corrosive to democracy. I don't know if I like the term undisclosed here. I think the only requirement is to disclose that it's a sponsored message. I don't think you have to say how much, although I wish you would.
So,
what?
Which word was undefined? Journalist or?
Saying that you're bound by journalistic ethical standards implies there are journalistic ethical standards. They're not really. No, it's whatever your company policy is. And you're not going to get like legally in trouble or anything for not. It's a nonsense phrase. A slew of high-profile lifestyle influencers across TikTok and Instagram have taken part in Phase 1 of Build American AI's influence campaign, according to a list of example posts shared by the staffer from SM4. Funnily enough, I think Taylor just did a sponsored thing from some AI thing on her Twitter, and a whole bunch of people were criticizing her for it. I don't think she disclosed how much they paid her. She just disclosed that it was like a paid-for advertisement. But a slew of high-profile lifestyle influencers across TikTok and Instagram have taken part in Phase 1, according to... In early April, for example, Megan Linky, a family and kids sports influencer, posted an Instagram video explaining how AI helps her stay organized. AI is changing everything, and it's important we keep building it here in the US, she says in the voiceover. Around the same time, Uchi Madsen, what is this, a Naruto character? Another motherhood influencer based in Virginia posted a video telling her 512,000 Instagram followers that she thinks it's important we invest in American AI, so America leads the way in AI innovation and job creation. Both influencers labeled the posts as advertisements, but did not disclose who the advertisements were for, or that they had been paid for as part of a campaign for Build American AI. Linky and Madsen did not respond to requests for comment from Wired. According to a briefing document that Build American AI provided to influencers, the organization is now seeking to extend beyond left-leaning female lifestyle and family content creators to focus on left-leaning influencers or political commentators, business/tech leaders, and male lifestyle influencers. The SM4 staffer claims their agency is tasked with recruiting left-leaning. The radar provider was long-standing talking points from companies like OpenAI and Palantir, which have pointed to China's AI advances as a reason to boost companies and their executives have also repeatedly argued that advancing American AI is essential to civil democracy. When people are worried about surveillance, of course, there are huge changes there. But Cohen points out that attempting to warp the information ecosystem by spreading undisclosed political messaging is not exactly in line with upholding democratic ideals. Does everybody else? A partnership label or hashtag ad is not enough to explain what the agenda is behind the information these influencers are presenting, he says. They're not disclosing the agenda underneath it. This is literally propaganda. Well, yeah, it's paid advertisements. Of course it is literally propaganda. What do you mean? Isn't that what an advertisement is? The influencer campaign is one of a number of efforts funded by Build American AI designed to shape public discourse about the technology. The organization has also been running advertisements on X with messaging such as AI leadership is national security, overlaid atop an American flag. The U.S. must lead or adversaries will. Wow. Hold on. Here's the video. Check this ad out. Get propagandized.
A big difference, but lately I've been using AI in my day-to-day, and it's actually changed how I get things done. It's not even in a complicated way. Just small things. Like when I'm trying to figure out what to film next or how to put ideas together. As a content creator, I use it to help me get out of my head and actually move forward. Or when I'm trying to
That's
plan
awesome.
ahead, especially for something like a road trip. I just want to make sure I'm not forgetting anything or overpacking. Or even something as simple as dinner. When I'm standing there and have no idea what I'm about to cook, I just need something quick that actually makes sense. And even around the house, when I have an idea but can't fully pull it together, it helps me figure out what direction I want to go in. It just helps me think through things faster, make decisions without overcomplicating them, and stay a lot more organized.
It's telling her to set her house on fire!
And honestly, it's made a bigger difference than I expected. And I think it's important we invest in American AI, so America leads the way in AI innovation and job creation. I didn't expect this to make such a big...
I don't think you should be able to do ads for not products. Like, it feels weird.
Really? You're trying to take their bag from them?
Yeah. Like, if you do an ad, it has to be for product. It can't be for ideas or something else. Like, I don't know. I don't like it. I just don't like it. The AI is the product. Oh, Gigajoule. Who is it advertising for? Quick, link their site. Gigajoule, link the website for AI. Gigajoule, go ahead. You always like to pull up the ladder behind you. What's the ad what have I done an advertisement like that for? What?
Really now? You don't remember the NFTs?
That was a thing. That was a product or service.
Oh, I thought you meant like a physical thing.
No, like if this was like an ad by fucking Palantir to promote Palantir, or if this was an ad for ChatGPT, why I'm a computer person. Why would you think I don't think software is real? I think that's fine. But I think like being paid to promote like ideas, I don't like that. That's weird to me. I don't like it. I think there should be like special restrictions. Like if there's not a particular product, I think there should be like
so then can you
dollar
pay somebody
amount
to go and like
disclosures.
vote?
Like what?
Or not to vote, but can you pay somebody to like advertise for your political campaign then?
I think that if it's going to be an idea, like a campaign or a public service announcement, I think that the disclosure should be way more hardcore. Like,
well, yeah, they usually do that. Like, I'm sponsored by, or Kamala Harris approves of this message.
That's only if it's paid for by like the official campaign aligned PAC. If it's like a super PAC thing, it could be way more broad. I think you only have to do like hashtag ad and you have no idea who it's coming from, you know? I think
every ad should be like upfront disclose this is an advertisement and then it can go into it, you know?
Well, yeah, but if it's an ideological thing, I would just like to know. It would change how I would view things.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Oh.
So maybe wasn't really we'll dovetail into the chorus thing.
Well,
Taylor, I don't know if you know
before
this.
we get started, did you guys see that there is a job opening? So if you guys are big chorus defenders here, they're hiring.
Oh, shit.
I applied after your article and they rejected me. So I don't know.
Wait, to be in
Wait,
the program?
really?
That's fucked up.
That's not
They should-
fair. That's fucked up.
Yeah, I was like more dark money. Give me.
But you would you disclose it? You
Oh,
would
absolutely.
disclose
That's why I
it.
tweeted it
Yeah.
out before it even happened.
So
but-
where's the problem? You know, like
We'll get into it. I mean, but just so you know, I've been trying to get Hutch to come to dinner every day, and
Wait, I thought her issue was that Chorus was receiving dark money, or they were receiving money from the 538 fund, which was getting money from dark money or something. I don't even remember.
I say, Hutch, where are you? What's going on, honey? Like the food's ready. It's getting cold, and he's just staring at this big wall of Post-its and pictures. He's been writing them on the pesto. So he's going to lead this chorus discussion with you, just so you know.
Yeah.
Why are they going over the Chorus article? I feel like this is so long ago, but okay.
Their second class finished, so they're done. I don't know that they've started. I think they're recruiting now for the next class, which is why they're hiring this partnerships person.
I mean, I don't know. I don't want to focus on like the current sort of chorus stuff. I did want to talk about your article a little bit, if you don't mind.
Sure, let's do it. Why not, guys? I'll talk about it till the cows come home. It's so crazy to me that when I was in DC, I ran into someone from 1630, and she was like, "It's never gonna die," and I was like, "It's never gonna die. It's never gonna die."
Well, listen, I think it would help the discussion. Well, first of all, I want to say like, I think your overall focus on transparency when it comes to money and politics, that is necessary journalism that needs to happen. And in fact, despite the issues that I have with your article, and we can dive into that, I did learn a lot about like dark money structures because your article made me look into it.
Yay.
And so I do think that there's a really vital role for journalists to be discussing this issue. And so, I appreciate you bringing attention to that. And I genuinely mean that. But I want to ask you just a few questions before we get into some other things here. What do you think is the crux of, like, if you had to describe the crux of your reporting in this Wired article, like what would you go with there? How would you describe it? It's like the main points.
Yeah, I think the main point is basically like what I want people to walk away with, kind of what you just said, which is that like this massive notorious dark money group is funding this program that influencers took part in that claim to be journalists, and that these influencers basically were taking undisclosed political money while promoting political messaging. For instance, I think that
real quick. I don't remember in that article. Does anybody remember? I can't ask you fucking retards. Did anybody actually claim to be a journalist that she was talking about? What does she mean when she says that? Control F, journalist. subscriber. It's there. Control F. Okay. Well, whatever.
Political money while promoting political messaging. For instance, I think that let me just give an example. So I think that consumers and viewers, readers, whatever, right, like news consumers deserve the right to know if the person that they're receiving information from is, one, taking political money, and two, taking part in like messaging sessions, like getting, sort of information given to them by certain political interests or whatever, right? I think that they should know that. Journalists, for instance, like myself, anybody that basically works in mainstream media, you cannot take part in any dark money political funding. That would
just as a quick thing, her Amidyar thing, like, clearly has some kind of like political messaging goal. That's how they chose their people. It's listed on their website. She has never given any details as to what they coached her on or what they talked to her about or what resources they provided her. She's never said that. I've never seen anybody say that, but whatever.
Would be
so you think she's
so
taking dark
unethical.
money then?
I would, by her definitions, I would say absolutely, yeah.
Who works in mainstream media, you cannot take part in any dark money political funding. That would be so unethical. It would violate every single ethics.
Also, what she's saying here, you can't do this thing. It would be unethical. No one would know. You wouldn't. There's no requirement to report it, and there are no ethical boards or standards or whatever for journalists. None of this is true. She's making
It's just
all this
like
up.
some stupid perceived ethics that
like,
she's holding.
Maybe corporate policies is what she's talking about. Yeah.
You could never do that and work in mainstream media. But I think the problem with influencers is that, listen, and I have friends in that program, but like some of them, it's like, whatever, they're political influencers. They don't feel like they have to disclose it. I think they should disclose it. But there are a lot of other people in those programs that are calling themselves journalists. And a lot of them actually wanted to disclose it. That's how that article came to be, is that 7 people in the program came together, 7 of them, and were like, hey, we wanted to disclose it. We want to post about it. We're being told that we're not allowed to, and we'll be kicked out of the program if we actually publicly disclose it. We
don't think any of that was true. I don't even know if she made that claim in the article. If she did, she definitely didn't justify it. This is just a lie, but okay.
We think this is really wrong, and we want to blow the whistle on it. We've recorded all these Zoom calls. Here's screen recordings of all these internal text messages. Here's internal documents. Here's all of the contracts. Here's all the contract negotiations. Here's all the internal guidance on what we're supposed to respond to, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, great, okay, well, let me reach out to Chorus and 1630 and talk to them about this. And obviously they didn't want to talk on the record, but I hope that people from that article demand more from the content creators and demand that these content creators, are...
Is she implying somebody from Chorus talked to her off the record? I seriously doubt that.
That's what it sounded like, yeah.
That's what it sounded like, but I don't think that's true.
Demand more from the content creators. Demand that these content creators,
or she's being misleading.
Are more transparent about funding. And most importantly, because I don't even think it should all be on the content creators' fault. As I said, so many content creators did want to disclose, and they were told they'd be kicked out of the program if they did. The people that run these programs, Courier News.
Never. I don't think she ever justified that or showed a single message of that or a threat of that, or even I don't know if there's even a person claiming that was named in the article where it said they get kicked out if they disclose that. But okay.
I don't know if do you guys know Tara McGowan, Courier?
No, I heard
crazy.
You talk about them before, but
yes, they're like the other big. You guys should. That's like your type of. That's like the other big lib like thing that funds all the Democrat stuff. Like,
oh, you're not a lib, Taylor?
Listen. I love the libs. I'm not hating on anybody, but
hang on a second. You like free speech? You don't like the libs?
I do. No. I actually really like a lot of people in. I like a lot of people in Chorus, and I like a lot of people in all these programs. But
and I have black friends, Taylor.
What'd you say?
I'm not a racist. I have black friends.
No, but I'm saying like that program is run transparently, right? There's a lot of other funding programs that are run transparency. Even Crooked Media, you could consider a sort of a form of this, although it's quite different. It's a media company. But
so overall, though, you're.
What is she talking about? I'm sorry. In what example is she giving? Are people disclosing like specific dollar amounts and like every single thing they're told behind the scenes for the companies they're part of? I don't believe any of that. I don't think any of that is true. I just don't believe it unless somebody shows me that. I don't think that's true.
Putting the emphasis on disclosure. You think the crux of the article was about disclosure?
I think it's about disclosure, and also unpacking what sort of, basically if you sign a contract that says, if I take part in Chorus-based events and that puts restrictions on my content, that should be disclosed.
She's not accurately summarizing the contract, and everything she's saying is just fucking retarded. Just that if Chorus makes some resource available to you, you can't like capitalize on that, and then it sounds like what Chorus was going to do is like bring in a person to speak to you, and you're not allowed to like reach out to that person and contact them afterwards and have them come on your stream. My guess is probably because they didn't want people flooded with requests afterwards. And also, if you're making resources available to people, you don't want them to like just take it from you or at least something like this. None of the claims she's made on the article or here have ever been justified by anything in the article. Now, when I interrogated her for 30 minutes on this, she eventually got down to the fact that she just left all of it out of the article. Initially, she said it was because of the lawyers. Then she said it was because of the editors. And then finally, she said, well, it was just the choices that I made. So I think she's lying about all of this 100%.
That puts restrictions on my content, that should be disclosed.
We'll get to that because that's worth diving into. But to your point on the disclosure, okay, so the section in your article where you dealt with the specific provision in the contract that barred the creators from disclosing that they were a part of a fund, like a dark money fund.
The program. They talked that they were part of the funding program.
Right.
Yeah.
That I think was probably the strongest part of your article, because I think that does raise ethical concerns that are worth exploring and discussing and hashing out and kind of collectively deciding like what should the ethics be. But we'll get to some of that.
Well, they came out after. I mean, these content creators, several of them came out after the story came out and said, "We're proud to take dark money and we don't owe you anything."
She's such a malicious fucking piece of shit. God, she's such a fucking demon monster.
So I think that's the energy that some of these content creators have, and I think that's a huge disservice. I think if they start to play that game, they're going to lose. Like that's not you. You have the disadvantage in that system. The right has significantly more dark money than the left will ever have.
Well, let me
ask you, was it in writing that they couldn't disclose? I don't know.
Yeah, it's in their contract. Yeah, it was in their contract. Yeah.
It wasn't. That's a lie. There were probably some aspects of things they aren't allowed to disclose. That's standard in every contract. Guy, unfortunately, is not asking a specific enough question, so Taylor is able to mislead and lie here in her response by saying, well, yeah, technically there were things in that contract but that you weren't supposed to disclose. But
okay.
Well, okay. I got to hit one thing at a time here. I feel like you hit on like 5 things that I want to unpack, but
okay.
I want to
that's what she does.
keep my train of thought here. So the second.
Ooh, can you guys vibe out sounds like
vibing?
She's
when she like
she's uncomfortable, right? Or she's like in combative mode. Can you hear that? Hold on.
Like 5 things that I want to unpack, but
okay.
I want to keep my...
That.
Oh yeah, like that. Okay, it's like all right, we're going with this.
Yeah, that's like we're about to fight sound. Oh boy.
Yeah.
I want to keep my train of thought here. So the second question that I have for you is I think it was in your conversation with Pisco where you were speaking about the importance of journalists and editors disclosing their partisan beliefs in their reporting. Was that your conversation with Pisco or on Doomscroll?
No. Well, I don't think that you have to do that. I say that, for instance, one reason that I really like to be independent is because I like to make my views clear on where I stand on certain issues. I think that makes me a more accountable reporter because when I'm open and I disclose, hey, I'm coming to this issue with this perspective. Mm-hmm. Am I wrong? I go to sources with this all the time where I'm like, well, this is my view,
Well, Taylor, in the interest of transparency,
hold on.
Like to make my views clear on where I stand on certain issues. I think that makes me a more accountable reporter because when I'm open and I disclose, hey, I'm coming to this issue with this perspective. Mm-hmm. Am I wrong? I go to sources with this all the time where I'm like, well, this is my view,
Well, Taylor, in the interest of transparency.
Is he about to make it? I feel like Sorpel interjects sometimes with too many jokes. I feel like 90% of the talking he does sometimes, I feel like just interjecting with a joke, but okay. Sorry.
Earlier, I know we're being friendly here, but you do hate Democrats and libs, right? I'm pretty sure you hate Democrats and libs. I'm pretty sure I've heard you say that.
I hate them because they keep losing. I want them to win. I want them to beat Republicans. But obviously, obviously, I don't want the Republicans to win there, especially not Donald Trump. He's a fascist.
But on this point, though, I think you did.
My point is if you are a journalist, especially if you're a public independent journalist, I think it's to your benefit and to the public's benefit for you to be transparent. And I think one reason people don't like mainstream media is that mainstream media will put out content that clearly has a political slant. Certain writers at The Atlantic, for instance, right, that are going to skew a certain way, but they can't come out and say it. And to me, that's a flaw in our media ecosystem. I think that you should.
What a crazy. Anytime somebody yaps so much off topic, it's because they know that their argument is weak. What the fuck are we talking? We just went from, I don't even remember Hutch's original question. I think it had to do with the types of disclosures that you should make for funding. And she's like, I think you should have to be open about your political biases. Well, who the fuck is even talking about this? She's like on some completely other planet right now.
Would it be up to the journalists to disclose that kind of slant in the reporting itself?
No, because it depends on your slant. What are you talking about? For instance, I cover identity verification laws. I'm very critical of ID verification laws. I'm very anti-surveillance. When I talk to the guy at the Age Verification Association, the trade group, I say, listen, I'm a huge critic of these laws. Convince me why I'm wrong. The goal of an article, like a journalistic article, is to be factual and truthful, and to get people to understand, sort of the truth of a situation. Right. It's not necessarily to share your opinion on something. Some articles do contain more opinion, but most sort of investigative work, or especially something like this, it doesn't have my opinion in it. Also because 15 people worked on this article, and my original draft was so it goes through so much sort of editing and review, and so many people work on it that it's just the end product is mostly a result of what did the legal, how do we need to sort of reword this so that it's legally factual and stand up to some defamation lawsuit, because that's what they kept threatening.
Well, my sense of
did they? Privately? Not publicly? Or what?
Of this particular reporting is that I think you do have a slant. I think you do. I think your opinion is
my slant is probably, I mean, as you can read from
Oh my God, is she going to say my slant is towards the truth and transparency?
all my Wired reporting, it's against dark money, and it's
Oh, so noble. Your slant is against a thing that, by definition, the verbiage itself implies that it's a bad thing? Good job. Wow.
it is a transparency.
Well, no, that's
Wow,
not the slant
nice. Good job.
that I'm talking about. I think you have an anti-establishment slant. I think you've discussed. You've
chorus is
described
Her fucking... Oh, dude, she's so Kelly Jane coded. Oh my God.
establishment.
Well, hang on, real quick. You've described
Chorus is anti-establishment. Is that what she just said?
establishment slant. I think you've discussed. You've
chorus is
described
anti-establishment.
Well, hang on, real quick. You've described yourself as on the left, or I think you even hinted that you were identified with the label of leftist. I think in your conversation with Doomskull,
on
and
certain
when you
issues.
read the article,
for
it's
sure,
like really clear that you have villains in the story and you have heroes in the story and you have kind of a larger narrative that I think goes beyond
but like
disclosure,
15
right?
people were right, but like my name is on the top. But as you know, with an investigation like this, especially one that went to the top, that like 15 people worked on the story. So
Well, I understand that, but like for example, so you
There's so much going on. Someday, and by someday I mean 10 years from now, I'll do a video on breaking down like these conversation dynamics. There's so much bad faith engagement from Taylor on this topic, right? So Taylor says, my goal is the facts and accuracy. That's my goal when reporting. I'm not trying to spin a narrative or be biased or give my opinion. It's just facts and truth, okay? And then Hutch says, well, in this article, it didn't seem like it was just facts and truth. It seems like there was a political bias. So she makes a claim, and he hits into the heart of that claim, and then she goes, oh, actually 15 people worked on it. So does that mean that the article wasn't truthful and factual? Are you abandoning that position? It's a diversion, obviously, with the goal of dispersing, I don't know, some personal accountability or saying it maybe it can't be biased. I don't know, but I hate, she's so good at every single time she opens her mouth. It's to spin a lie of some kind.
You assigned the label centrist to Olivia Juliana.
which is how she self-identified.
No, she self-identifies as a progressive, right?
No, from what I found from
Anna.
which is how
I understand that, but like for example, so you assigned the label centrist to Olivia Juliana.
which is how she self-identified.
No, she self-identifies as a progressive, right?
No, from what I found from my original reporting back from the New York Times, back when I had interviewed her years ago,
That's a red flag. In my opinion, I'm being harsh here. It's like, that's like a disqualifying statement. Why would you ever identify somebody politically based on an interview you did with them years ago? Why? What? That's like an on its face, absurdly stupid thing to say. But
was identifying as a centrist Democrat.
centrist Democrat? Hold on. Where is the article? What did she call it in the article? Because that's also a different... Influencers included in communication about the program, and in some cases an onboarding session for those receiving payments from the 1630 fund, include Olivia Juliana, the centrist Gen Z influencer who spoke at the 2024 Democratic National Convention. That doesn't sound like that just sounds like a centrist, not a centrist Democrat. That's already a different thing that she's immediately conceded on, but okay.
in Texas. That was her whole thing. In
2024?
Maybe it was whenever I spoke to her, which was quite a while ago. But
that means that no, then why would you use that out-of-date information?
But just to be clear, she never took issue with that. She never reached out for a correction.
Doesn't matter, not relevant.
On that at all. We would have been happy to, like, if she.
I mean, nonetheless, that is an opinion, right? Subjective. It's a very subjective label.
No. It was how she. Well, first of all, I think we can correctly identify people's political sort of affiliations. For instance, if she's, correct me if I'm wrong on Olivia Juliana, and Olivia Juliana works for Chorus, but her whole thing was that she was a Democrat in Texas, right, who had done a lot of work with like reproductive justice.
Yeah, right. So she focuses on abortion, LGBTQ+, climate, voting rights. When I look at these sort of policy...
These are all left-leaning social issues, for sure.
Priorities, that does not strike me as a... When I think of a centrist, I think of Joe Manchin.
Okay.
I think of like Jared Polis in Nebraska, right?
If Olivia wants to reach out, and we...
She's dodging now. If somebody else wants to reach out, she does this. She lies like she breathes. She's so good. She like adeptly switches between like every single like thing to like the way that she lies. She's just so nonchalant about it. I don't understand how people's minds work this way. It's crazy.
Honestly, the thing that you're bringing up mostly comes up on the right, because, for instance, when I've covered Nick Fuentes, he will say, well, I'm not a white nationalist, or Chuck Johnson, who I cover all the time.
Now she's kind of like poisoning the well, I guess, or whatever, trying to like lob him into like, oh, this is like a conservative critique of my article.
Or not so much anymore, actually, he's less relevant. But he would constantly say, well, I'm not a Holocaust denier.
Oh, and Taylor also tells another lie, which she does all the time, I guess. She said she could reach out, but apparently Olivia did tweet. Oh, no, I'm sorry. This is a different tweet in 2024, so not about Taylor Lorenz, but this is a 2024 tweet. You say I'm not progressive, and yet I have very progressive stances. I believe in a robust public option with Medicare available to all. That's a far left position. Public option in the American political climate is absolutely a far left position. I believe in free community colleges and trade schools. That's like decently like center left at least. I believe that we need more immigration judges, more work permits, more visas, a comprehensive, clear pathway to citizenship. That's a further left position for sure. I believe in investing in a green economy that saves the planet. This is at least a decently further left position. Green anything basically is. I believe in fully funding public education and raising teachers' wages. That's at least center left. I have very progressive values and beliefs, but because I don't water down my opinions as long as I'm somehow not progressive, whatever you say. But okay.
Right. And so I think at some point you do have to take a look at certain people's, beliefs and what they've expressed and try to categorize.
How would you define centrist? How would you define centrist?
A Democrat.
You control F, Olivia. I think one thing political parties, especially like liberal politicians, have really shied away from engaging with more progressive activists because they want to stick to these neutral party lines, and I get that. But I think to perform well on the internet, you've got to engage with everyone. I'd be dealing with Twitch streamers and content creators, and I would really go out and use social media to try and engage with people, and especially these progressive influencers on the internet. I wouldn't say we're just not dealing with those people because they're too radical or they're too progressive. I would try to bring them into the fold and use them to my advantage. Would this include Olivia Juliana? Yeah, I think people like her are exactly who we're talking about. These young Gen Z activists and commentators and people with followings, they have just so much to offer, and that's the future of politics in our country. I think we have the class of politicians on all political sides that's just very old and very out of touch, and we really need young people to seize control of this country in so many ways. I love people like Olivia and others who really stand up for what they believe in and use the internet to make their voice heard. So she's literally calling her a progressive in this article. What was the year of this article or in this interview? This was in 2023. So at least in 2023, she was referring to her as a progressive. Okay. By the way, I pointed this out in her first article. The reason why Taylor Lorenz does this, naming people and then ascribing political things, this is to target somebody, to greenlight them for harassment and media attacks. That's the reason why. She does this very, very, very specifically in this article, where she'll never name her sources. Surprisingly, none of her sources are ever named. They're all anonymous. They're all off the record. I think for most of this. But like for people that she doesn't like, that are occupying a political position that she disagrees with, she goes as hard as she can on naming every single part about them. Lauren Peretra, a former Playboy slut executive turned political influencer who hosts a podcast for Occupy Democrats, Barrett Adair, a content creator who runs an American Girl doll-themed pro-DNC meme account, Suzanne Lambert, who has called herself a Regina George liberal, Ariel Fodor, an education creator with 1.4 million followers, influencers included in communication about the program, and in some cases an onboarding session for those receiving payments from the 1630 fund. These are all people who wouldn't comment. I don't know if she names anybody in this program who did. Like this is like she's like doing like hit list tier shit, and you can see that it actually worked for the Olivia girl because on her Wikipedia they got her 2024 election and beyond. This last paragraph here. According to Wired magazine, Herrera is a member of the Chorus Creator Incubator Program, a subsidiary of the 1630 Fund, a dark money group, which provides a stipend to political online influencers to promote pro-Democratic Party messaging. So they got her here on this one. Yeah, but good job. This is like bullying. It's like hit piece style journalism, basically.
Not a Holocaust denier, right? And so I think at some point you do have to take a look at certain people's, beliefs and what they've expressed and try to categorize.
How would you define centrist? How would you define centrist?
A Democrat that's probably very middle of the road.
Like you should just ask, like, is AOC a centrist? Like, this what a fucking retarded statement.
Like a middle of the road Democrat, like a Democrat that could operate in a red state, probably.
You think a Democrat in a red state is a middle of the road Democrat? Like that doesn't even make sense. So that sounds like definitionally a more right-wing Democrat, right?
And a blue state, maybe equal, somebody that's
very
sort of
broad, though. That's a very, very broad.
Well, it's not even broad. It's just retarded. It's a meaningless nonsense definition. It can be whatever. She does this a lot. She'll redefine things or define things in different ways for however she wants to make things into whatever. It's just so stupid. Like, what is a centrist? What would you call a right-wing Democrat and a left-wing Republican? Are they both centrists, or it's stupid? stupid.
She's like Thanos. Reality is whatever she wants
just
it to be.
stupid. It doesn't make any
Probably,
sense.
and a blue state maybe equal, like, you know, somebody
That's
that sort
very
of appeals
broad,
to both.
though. That's a very, very broad.
Well, it's kind of like the centrism itself. Like as I think about it and sit here, there's a kind of identified more Schumer-oriented Democrat, more moderate Democrat associated with.
Pisco has zero political insight or savvy, so you just have to remember that his mind is rotted by whatever people he's reading at the time. I don't know if he's still on all this lefty shit, but like calling Schumer like a centrist, there's like people who call Pelosi a centrist. Like there's just no reason to take you seriously, politically at least. You just no mind for it.
A centrist label,
Well,
and it is kind of vague, right?
Yeah,
It's a kind of vague
but
term.
also, like, I wouldn't say that the chorus. I mean, chorus has made content with Schumer. Like, I guess I would say it's a very vague term. It's probably the most broad term because I don't think we want to get it again like too specific.
The important thing here, Taylor, is to Hutch's point, based on, and I found this when I read your article too. You use centrist as like a pejorative, right?
No, for this
She does.
one we say that like when
What is a centrist? For Pisco's definition, a centrist is anybody who is not willing to murder every single Israeli and Jew person on the fucking planet, probably. Not that extreme. But in Pisco's mind, unironically, in his mind, a centrist is probably somebody who's not willing to say that Israel is a genocidal apartheid, ethnic cleansing state that we need to completely sever all contact from. Anybody that's not on board with that, in his mind, is probably a centrist, unironically. I don't know if he would admit exactly to that, but that's going to be some type of thing there, yeah.
You use
Who would you call a centrist Dem? I would never use the word centrist right now. The soy pill is accurate here in that centrist is a slur that's wielded by many different people right now. Yeah, it's just a slur. It's a heavily negatively loaded word. I would never use it to describe somebody unless I was trying to attack them, basically. Yeah.
Well, the important thing here, Taylor, is to Hutch's point, based on, and I found this when I read your article too. You use centrist as like a pejorative, right?
No, for this one we say that like when
in general you do. You don't like the Democrats, and you especially don't like centrist Democrats. This
I
is
am
just like
centrist
your
on
ideological
certain issues. I think it depends on the type of.
Do you use centrist as a
Do you see the pivot, the dodge there? Right?
Oh yeah.
Don't you use centrist as a pejorative? I'm a centrist on certain issues.
She's a memer.
I'm trying to think if that even makes sense. I think typically, I guess it could. I don't know. People, it's because like usually when you say centrist, it's like you have a collection of beliefs that are both the left and the right. I don't know. This is an intentional diversion from her. It's all retarded. I shouldn't be thinking about this too much.
Especially don't like centrist Democrats. This
I
is
am
just like
centrist
your
on
ideological.
certain issues. I think it depends on the type of.
Do you use centrist as a pejorative?
In general, you use centrist as a pejorative, right? Like you view these people as like these feckless do-nothings, and like
I think
she'll never admit to this. Part of the underlining in her writing is this facade of nonpartisanship. And so she's just describing things accurately as they are. She can never own that she uses centrist as a pejorative.
You use centrist as a pejorative, right? Like you view these people as like these feckless do-nothings, and like
I think you're completely putting words in my mouth that I have not said. I think I don't like Chuck Schumer, and there's a lot of what he says, but there's a lot of people that are quote unquote centrist that I absolutely respect and work with, and that worked on this article. Like there's people just to be clear, this article went through so many editors that have such a range of political beliefs, and I hear you that maybe you disagree that Olivia Juliana
means nothing about anything.
Classified as we described her, a centrist Gen Z influencer who spoke at the 2024 DNC.
I
she
think
has
when you
not
look at
taken
her,
issue with that, and
that's not really
doesn't matter at all.
It's not really, that's beside the point. I
Wait,
mean,
but
whether or not she disputes it, I think if most people. Well, hang on, just let me real quick. I'm trying to be. I'm not trying to cut you off.
She's so good. She's such a Kelly Jean, bro.
Very much. So just let me say
Okay,
what
sorry.
I think if like a reasonable person went to Olivia Juliana's feed and they saw her policy priorities, I think that they would colloquially understand her to be just sort of like a standard Gen Z progressive Democrat.
Which is funny because I saw Hutch in YouTube chat. I don't know if you saw it earlier, Hutch, but she, like Taylor Lorenz in 2023, literally referred to this exact Gen Z influencer as a progressive content creator. That's very funny to me.
Focused on progressive
is also the reason progressive has come up so much, and somebody was trying to get me to write a story about this recently, which I was like, this is not really my beat, is because so many people have tried to replace the word centrist with progressive, and this has been like a thing that influencers were actually given. This is totally separate from my story, and this is like something else. Maybe I'll write about it. I don't know, probably not. But there is an effort as certain words become stigmatized or have negative, maybe you're saying this has like a negative view with some people, they're trying to use other words. So you see them use the word progressive instead of centrist.
I don't know what she's talking. We cover the same. We live in the same world. She's just lying here.
word whatever.
No, I'm not talking about.
That would have been great to know in the moment. Oh yeah, wait, real quick. What was the? Oh, sorry. Yeah, somebody just linked this. It was funny. And the last what if, and let's assume that you accept the position, okay. Joe Biden calls you up and says, run my campaign social media, what do you do? She says, oh boy, I would start by engaging with people, not just approved content creators. I think one thing that specific political parties, especially like liberal politicians, have really shied away from is engaging with more progressive activists because they want to stick to these neutral party lines, and I get that. But I think to perform well on the internet, you've got to engage with everyone. I'd been dealing with Twitch streamers and content creators, and I would really go out and use social media to try and engage with people, and especially these progressive influencers on the internet. I wouldn't say we're just not dealing with those people because they're too radical or they're too progressive. I would try to bring them into the fold and use them to my advantage. Would this include Olivia Juliana? Yeah, I think people like her are exactly who we're talking about. These young Gen Z, like that's crazy. And this was it was like October 2023, October 11th, 2023 that this was posted. So yeah, I don't know, it's wild to me.
Self-assigned labels.
Trying to use other words. So you see them use the word progressive instead of centrist or the word whatever.
No, I'm not talking about self-assigned labels. I mean, I think most people would look at her policy proposals and think, okay, that's just.
What do you think about Biden, Hutch? I mean,
fuck. I'm sorry. Hold on. Another thing, real quick. Somebody put from Taylor Lorenz's account every time she uses the word centrist. This is wrong. Leftists are the ones who most vocally hate Crockett for good reason. For good reason. Blue MAGA liberals. What the fuck does she mean when she says blue MAGA? Blue MAGA liberals are the ones melting down because that's her base. The centrist Dem chorus / 1630 fund creators support Crockett. Damn, how many people is chorus paying? Support Crockett. Leftist hater because she's pro crypto, pro Israel corporate shill. It is remarkable how successful Richard Hanania has been in reinventing himself as a centrist liberal. Centrist liberals have always agreed with his core ideals. Keep in mind that Hanania's background, to people like Taylor Lorenz, he's known as a white nationalist, and he also contributed to Project 2025 or whatever the fuck. So, okay. This is nasty work. The majority of creators on this program are white. Two centrist, Dem black influencers have been hurling abuse at me for days. Instead of criticizing power and the centrist Dems who wield it, you're criticizing marginalized people who are being oppressed. I can confirm that Hassan Lahan was not approached for this program. I didn't see Austin on the list either. The 90 influencers involved appear to be primarily centrist, pro-DNC Dems who have not spoken out about Palestine / are pro-Israel. Okay.
Let's be honest, right? Like, so
would look at her policy proposals and think, okay, that's just.
What do you think about Biden, Hutch? I mean, let's be honest, right? Like, so if Biden were described as a centrist Democrat,
Olivia Juliana was a Biden dead ender, so she absolutely is a Biden Democrat.
That does not.
Would you describe Biden as
AOC, hang on, yes, hang on.
Biden policy-wise and everything absolutely was 100% yes.
Were Biden dead
exactly, yes. AOC and Bernie Sanders
I would describe them as Democrat. I guess they're not.
AOC is
they're progressives, right? They're progressives, right? That doesn't make them as centrists.
I would call them democratic socialists, right?
Progressives are not necessarily Dem socks. You're getting into a different thing there. There's probably a decent amount of overlap, but these are two different things.
They're progressives, right? They're progressives, right? That doesn't make them as centrists.
I would call them democratic socialists, right?
Well, listen, if you had to choose between progressive and centrist.
Who's she talking about? Sorry.
Olivia Juliana was a Biden dead ender, so she absolutely is a Biden Democrat.
That does not.
Would you describe Biden as
AOC,
hang on, yes,
AOC and Bernie were Biden dead
exactly, yes. AOC and Bernie Sanders were.
I would describe them as Democrat. I guess they're not.
AOC is
they're progressives, right? They're progressives, right?
She's saying AOC and Bernie are Dem socks.
I would call them democratic socialists, right?
Well, listen, if you had to choose between progressive and centrist to describe.
Dem sock is about as far left as you can be while still being on the liberal axis, by the way. Dem sock is basically all the way to the left. You can't get much more left than that without falling off of the liberal structure of how government works. But
AOC and Bernie, what would you choose?
It totally depends on the context of the article.
I feel like you're
because Bernie has been cut. No, because look at what.
Wait, is she saying she would describe Bernie or AOC as a centrist?
Well, listen, if you had to choose between progressive and centrist to describe AOC and Bernie, what would you choose?
It totally depends on the context of the article.
I feel like you're being
because
a little
Bernie has been
there.
cut. No, because look at what Bernie's been doing with his AI policy. Like I think
nobody would call him a centrist. Nobody
I wouldn't call him, but I
centrist.
wouldn't call him progressive either on certain things.
I don't understand what these words mean anymore. I mean, like more broadly, you said
she was about to say, well, then okay, maybe you shouldn't have a judgment about them. Then maybe you shouldn't be telling me how to use them if you're not informed. If you just don't know, if you're not informed enough, then maybe you shouldn't be telling me how to use them.
that there were 90.
She was 100% about to lead with that.
Did you see a list of 90 people? Is that how many people you saw?
So just to be clear, I understand that you take issue with the way that editors categorize these people, but
That's an opinion.
She loves to try to imply that the editors and the people that worked on her article or whatever were inserting content. My understanding is that's not how that typically works. I would love to be corrected by anybody with experience in the field or whatever, but that's not their job. The editors and all the people that are doing like legal checks or whatever above you are not inserting content into your article or checking to make sure that like the opinion is valid. They might do basic like biographical checks, like date checks or something, but it's not going to be like, hey, like you call this person a progressive. Don't you think they're more like a centrist? From my engagement with mainstream media, that's never going to be how editors or whatever above a journalist are going to function. That's crazy to me. But she's trying to like push off all the responsibility to them, not to push it off, but to like give more credibility and justification to her own opinion here. Like, oh, you think I'm wrong? Well, sorry, bucko. That's what all the editors said. That's what the 15 people went over this article.
I understand that you take issue with the way that editors categorize these people, but
that's an opinion, though. You're inserting.
It's not an opinion. Well, this is.
It literally is an opinion. She's such a stupid fucking idiot. God, I hate her so much. She's not an idiot. She's malicious.
Chuck Johnson saying that us calling him a Holocaust denier is an opinion, or us saying that Tucker Carlson is a right winger is an opinion. All we can do is try to best reflect the ideology that often we use self-described ideologies, but all we can do.
You never, ever, ever use self-described ideologies. Definitionally so, it doesn't make any sense. That's so stupid. This is like saying, like Hutch just said, oh, so the Nazi party, they were socialists, right? Or there's a Democratic Republic in North Korea, right? Is it DPK? Is it the Democratic People's Republic of whatever the fuck, right? Like, do you believe? Yeah. Is this? You never ever use self-described to talk about somebody's political belief. It's such a stupid thing. Oh my God, bro.
She self-describes as a progressive at this point. So that's
use self-described ideologies, but all we can do.
I think she self-describes as a progressive at this point. So that's where I'm a little bit confused.
At this point, maybe, but I would say again, if you ask actual people that are further to the left than her, they will say not. So
well, that's the issue.
So are you just admitting then? So one, so we're not using self-descriptions then, and then two, is this just a purity treadmill?
That's the issue.
Right, and
that's will call Bernie Sanders a centrist, but it's not accurate.
No, but that's the issue because I think you're framing your article from the position of like the left.
But I didn't even write that line. So like I just.
That's a fucking lie, guaranteed. You're telling me that an editor is inserting opinion into your article? If so, that's wild. Unless are they on the byline? It's your article. What? I'm sorry, are there other names on here that I'm missing? I see Taylor Lorenz on the byline. Is there anybody else that contributed to this article? That's a lie, 100% by the way. Is she texting me? Hold on. Good. She better not be. That is a lie, 100%. She lied.
Well, you're in the position of like the left.
But I didn't even write that line.
Also, oh wait, I'm sorry. Fuck. I'll stop pointing all these out. There's just so much manipulative garbage she does, right? Notice how before she was defending it, and now she's like, I didn't even write it. I didn't even write that shit.
Line. So like
your name's on the. Of course,
but I want you to understand how journalism works, right? Okay. The way that journalism works, it's not just that Wired is my personal blog and I can go and write whatever I want, right? And I can just go and publish on Wired and nobody's going to look at it, right? No, especially with an investigation like this, the way it happens is I find information, right? I get people trying to whistleblow in this case about a program that they're in. And I go to an editor and I say, hey, I have all of this source material, all of this people, would you be interested in a story? Yes. Okay. I work with that editor to draft the story. It then goes through rounds, in this case, rounds and rounds and rounds and rounds of review from many different editors that not only transform the story, rewrite parts of the story, add things, take things away, but also then it goes through legal review. Then it goes through copy edits and stuff. Like
yeah, it goes through.
So, but I
just don't believe it. I think she's lying. Unless there's a fundamentally different part of this process. What you have an article, you might have an idea that you pitch, you might not have the article done, you might have the idea that you pitch to a journalistic endeavor, and then they'll buy it, the article from you ahead of time or whatever, and then you work on it. But like when you're submitting the article for review, editors are going over like it might be some amount of like grammar check. I've had people write articles about me where editor will reach out and do basic biographical fact checks. Like, hey, just curious, did you live in Omaha, Nebraska in 2005? Did you have a blue car and was your dog's name Frodo or whatever, right? Yeah, sure. Like basic fact checks like that. I'm sure legal might actually go through things to make sure that you're not making like claims that could, get them sued or something. But the idea that all these people are going through and like inserting and taking away parts of the article and writing and rewriting, I have never in my life have I ever heard of that process before. I've never, ever, ever in my life heard that before. Again, if somebody else has some experience there or whatever, I'd be interested to hear it, but I've never heard that. That's crazy to me.
Things away, but also then it goes through legal review, then it goes through copy edits and stuff. Like
Yeah,
it goes through.
understand
So, but I just want you to understand, because I think, yes, my name is at the top of the story because this is my reporting. This is my reporting that I brought forward fundamentally. But if you're going to take issue with like random sort of characterizations, and again, I understand.
Random characterizations? It's your story that you don't even stand by. Parts of it. What?
I think it's random. I think it was deliberate. I think it was deliberate.
Okay, well, I guess
why don't you get to there? I mean, like, why don't you go there and just ask Taylor?
The copy editor.
I'm trying to have a conversation with her. I don't know why you're jumping in here.
No, because it's kind of a stupid critique to be like, hey, centrist. It's kind of the eye of the beholder. Like, yeah. So Joe Biden would describe himself as a centrist Democrat, correct? Yes or no?
No, peaceful. The whole point.
Wait, can you answer?
Would he? I don't know. Would he? I'm trying to think of in the Senate, maybe for many years. I mean, he worked with a lot of people. He might say moderate Democrat. I don't know if he would say centrist. But also, we don't use self-description for political labels as well.
Answer that first. Can you answer that? So the question you should ask, is, Taylor, did you?
Let me finish my track.
The question that you should ask is, Taylor, were you attempting to imply something nefarious when you use centrist there? Were you trying to imply that they were aligned with the DNC?
Well,
ask the question about her intention.
Listen.
Well, those two things are different questions. Aligned with the DNC and nefarious might not necessarily be true. But the whole problem is Taylors are never going to directly accept a nefarious framing because all of that is just in the eye of the beholder. It's like a Jordan Peterson strategy, right?
Taylor, respectfully, I think you were doing that. I didn't even
write that. I wrote the list of influencers' names. I didn't even originally.
Well, here we have. We have.
Not even originally what?
I didn't even write that. I wrote the list of influencers' names. I didn't even originally.
Well, here we have. We have another spot here where you say that.
Hutch, before you do the next thing, because
I can't.
Taylor, you did say that I was putting words in your mouth, but if you search on your Twitter centrist, it's very clear that you use this as a pejorative term.
Oh, uh-oh.
And like that can be your opinion, that's fine, but to claim that that's not like your ideological spin is a little frustrating.
But I would say in what context is it? Is it in what context? Because I think certainly do I get annoyed at certain centrist people? Sure.
I think that
do I get that's like saying I think you're racist. I think you hate black people. It's like, well, it depends on the context. Are there people I hate that are black? Sure. Like that's not at all what he just said. That was not what this white bill was claiming there, but okay.
There was an intention there to be disparaging. I think it's broader than that.
Okay, but this is just...
She's about to appeal to... I can always tell when she's about to appeal to her expertise. Hutch, you just don't understand, baby. I'm sorry, baby boy. You just don't get it. You're just not part of the big boy world like I am. Kicked off the Washington Post journalistic... Or kicked off WAPO, by the way, as a journalist because I was fucking lying about... what the fuck did she even lie about? Stupid shit.
Honestly, I didn't write the sort of things. It's fine if she had
taken. Just let me finish.
Instead of just let me finish.
Well, you have been cutting me off pretty consistently throughout this entire exchange.
All right. Well,
right?
then this is just not going to be. We're not going to be able to have a conversation.
Productive. Say the word.
Because we're talking about a story that was edited by so many people, and I don't know what to tell you other than I.
Okay.
Like this is a this is a crazy line of argumentation. Like, it's not. It's not my story. I don't know. I didn't fucking write it. What? I'm on the byline. I don't know what the fuck. Maybe the editor wrote some shit. I didn't see it. Like, I didn't have final approval on any of this. I basically just sent them a half-baked idea, and then they finished the story for me. Like, what the fuck is she saying here? Hello?
Okay, so are you distancing yourself from that label?
Oh my God. If Olivia Juliana had reached out after that story and said, you grossly mischaracterized...
Why would it matter if she reached out if you didn't even write the label? Why did you spend time earlier justifying why you used the label and then claim that an editor inserted it? You didn't even write the label at all.
From that label.
Oh my God. If Olivia Juliana had reached out after that story and said, you grossly mischaracterized my views, I'm not a centrist, take it out, you mischaracterized it, whatever, I would have been happy to bring that to the editor. And the editor could have looked at her positions and decided whether or not that was...
Isn't that what they had to do in the first place? What, did they just write some random shit? You're saying the editor inserted a random political position for her? By the way, this is a total fucking lie. There's no shot that an editor is writing in the political positions that subjects of Taylor's stories are occupied. That's just I don't believe that for a microsecond. That's crazy to me.
That's correct.
Taylor, her opinion works. But Taylor, her opinion is not especially relevant.
Also, in terms of this isn't how journalism works, you don't just publish a bunch of journo slop and then hope that other people call you out or correct you on the misinfo slop you've published.
Whether or not that was correct.
Taylor, her opinion works. But Taylor, her opinion is not especially relevant. Like if you're saying that the language, if you're saying that the centrist language
oh my God.
Was not something that you picked, is that your way of saying that you're kind of distancing yourself from that language?
I would have until this conversation called Olivia Juliana a centrist because she's a Democrat in a red state.
Like, am I a centrist? I'm in Florida right now. What is that? Our definition of centrist? It's just like such a crazy, stupid, uninformed, politically retarded thing to say. How could you take somebody seriously who says something that fucking stupid?
And I would imagine that most people that are the Democrats in the red states lean to the center. Also,
lean to the center? A Democrat leans, we call that person left.
So when I had spoken to her years ago, that was my understanding of her. And also, that's, again, we did not receive any criticism of this. This is the first criticism that I've even heard of this.
Not relevant.
Well, I think it's important because I do think that it was.
I'm sorry you feel this way, but this is just completely
you don't need to apologize to me. I'm just,
I mean, it's just
unproductive. Oh, we got the unproductive. Yes.
Completely unproductive.
I feel like you're becoming quite defensive and evasive right now.
No,
I feel.
Oh, true.
Because I feel like I'm dealing with the white nationalists because this is all.
What? And the second time, remember earlier she was like, "This always comes from the right." It's because he's bald, by the way. 100%, the white nationalist card has come out. Oh boy,
quite defensive and evasive right now.
No, it's
I feel like I'm
dealing with the white nationalists because this is all I do all day is go back and forth with the white nationalists.
Hutch is bald by choice, but it's not because of that.
It is the same ridiculous argument where it's like, oh,
you think the questions that I asked you amount to like being questioned by a white nationalist?
I will tell you, they are the exact. Why don't you listen? They are the exact same words you're using, the exact same method of saying, right? When we write about Tucker Carlson, and I've gone back and forth with Tucker Carlson's team on this exact issue, right? We'll say, well, we characterize you as XYZ, far right, right? Far right is actually even more common than the right with white nationalists. And every time I write about a right-wing influencer and we say, well, we are, whatever, here's the article, here, we're asking you for comment, blah, 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 blah. They will say, I'm not far right. I'm not far right. I'm progressive. In some cases, they even
who?
Say, even Tim Pool types. I'm actually progressive.
Okay, Tim Pool types will, yes. That's not a Tucker Carlson type. That's for an explicitly different purpose, though.
Okay, but
Taylor, I think
they're not. Just let me finish.
Well, so Taylor, you've been cutting me off this whole time.
Respectfully, all I am saying is that when you're
would you characterize? He should ask her. Would you characterize Tim Pool as a progressive?
Writing an article, we do our best to be accurate. Now, if Olivia Juliana is not a centrist and that's so inaccurate, again, she could happily request a correction from Wired. She never did. No one
Hutch, can I reframe this?
Because like ever raised.
The point is not necessarily whether or not it's accurate to call her a centrist. If this was like the specific pedantic sticking point, I can see this like, oh, this is for. But it's not. What Hutch is getting at is that this article is clearly viewed as, hey, we're painting these chorus people who are taking this money as these kind of shills, these DNC operatives who are just paid to get these talking points and just repeat exactly what the do-nothing centrist Dems do, right? And that's kind of where the perspective that he's saying.
I didn't say any of this was bad at all. I was just reporting the facts and truth. And if you think it's bad at any point and I can't defend it, then that was my editor's.
This is kind of like an opinionated.
That's taking a lot from an article that doesn't say a lot, and I don't doubt that that's how TikTokers were taking it, and that's not how TikTokers and people on Instagram threads are taking it. But if you actually read the article, you will see that it is quite clear what we say. And this is not a DNC.
Listen.
This is poor Shelby at the DNC had to literally kept being like, guys, this is not a DNC program. Obviously, they support the DNC. But the DNC has its own influencer program.
On August 27th, you tweeted, the 90 influencers involved appear to be primarily centrist, pro-DNC,
yes,
who have not spoken about Palestine, are pro-Israel. Those are your words.
Yes.
But you just said a moment ago, you're kind of distancing yourself from that framing.
No, I didn't. What are you talking about?
Soy Pill just confronted you with, and you said, well, I can understand why people walked away with that, but those are your words.
I'm sorry. They're centrist. Again, if Olivia Juliana is not a centrist, and that is factually wrong, and these people are not centrist, and this is factually wrong, that these content creators that are making content with Chuck Schumer, that are making content with Hakeem Jeffries, if they're not, if I was wrong, if this article is wrong, and it's factually wrong, then I highly encourage them to ask for a correction. But no one has asked for
our leaders in our Democratic Party are centrists? Like, how far left or like politically retarded do you have to be to assume that they wouldn't be like, unless you mean like centrists in the party, but like that doesn't make any sense to say that, right? Like, like, would you ever call Mike Johnson centrist? I wouldn't. But that's like the legal or the lawmakers kind of head of the conservative lawmaker body. And Thune, I wouldn't call these guys centrist. They're like, they represent the entirety of the conservative movement or the conservative party, at least in Congress. Same thing with like when you're talking about like Schumer or Hakeem Jeffries, calling them centrist is just very, very, very weird. You're making it sound like they're on the furthest outreach of like the Democratic Party. Like, would you say that Schumer is as far right as Bernie or AOC is as far left? If we're looking within the context of the Democratic Party, that doesn't make any sense.
Step by steps.
Saying that they are not centrist. No one.
Let's just do it step by step. Hutch, is it your contention that it's inaccurate to call Olivia Juliana a centrist?
I do believe that, yes, and I think that she used
virtue
that
of
word
what?
intentionally. Well, I don't know why you.
No,
You understand that when Taylor uses that word, it's a pejorative.
No, hang on. So separate that intent.
Saying that they are not centrist. No one.
Let's just do it step by step. Hutch, is it your contention that it's inaccurate to call Olivia Juliana a centrist?
I do believe that, yes, and I think that she used that word intentionally. Well, I don't know why you. You understand that when Taylor uses that word, it's a pejorative.
Hang on. So separate that intent. So you can make a critique of an article based on its accuracy or based on whether there's some bad motive.
I'm trying to get to a larger.
Is it your contention? I know, but let's just do it step by step. Let's do it step by step, right? Is it inaccurate? And so, and if it's inaccurate, why is it inaccurate?
It's inaccurate because her policy priorities do not line up with what any reasonable person would assert to be a centrist. When you look at the things that she's advocating for. Okay, that's fine.
But there's a fact of the matter there. We can look at it as factually as a fact of the matter. What do they actually support politically? Where does the American public pull on these issues? Where do the lawmakers in Congress stand on these issues? We can look at that. Just because somebody says a thing, you never use self-ID for politics. Nobody does that. Nobody analyzes politics that way. That's obviously such a stupid way of viewing things. In fact, like I would almost say that that's like a word that you use almost as like an insult in and of itself, or like a meme, like a self-described, John Smith, a self-described blah blah blah, a self-described whatever, self-described. Like usually this is like a almost like a meme kind of adjective, way to describe things. It's such a dumb. I don't even know what I'm saying. It's so stupid.
How do you can just make this argument about anything?
What does it mean to be pro-DNC or pro-Israel? What does that mean?
So pro-DNC means pro-Democrat, like pro sort of the Democrat establishment, what I would say, which is very much Corus's goal. And pro-Israel means that the majority of the people that we found that were public, which is why I think it's so crucial for them to actually release these names publicly, because I think if this is not the majority view held among their creators, they should release these names publicly to make it clear what is the ideological makeup of their Corus class. But a lot of the people that we found were also pro-Israel, meaning they were expressing support for Israel.
What does that mean?
And
how many creators?
What does express support for Israel mean, by the way? Like, I don't want the country to be deleted. Is that?
Of like all the creators that you saw, would you say we're posting pro-Israel posts? Can you name names there?
No.
Well, that's the point, right? Is that they haven't published the roster. They haven't published.
How do you know?
The roster, but a decent amount of ones that we checked.
Did anybody in the people that you mentioned in the article, so like Olivia Packman, Brian Tyler Cohen, did any of them post pro-Israel content?
You'll have to
Cohen
go check their specific feeds. But Brian,
it's your article. Why are you telling him to fact check or research your article? What?
Tyler Cohen.
You claim that they were primarily pro-Israel, right?
Yeah. Well, some people that are pro-Israel.
Me, when I submit article to or reviewed or studied a fucking Nature, it's like, oh, how did you do the calculation? I don't know. Why don't you go consult the database? Why don't you go check the table? I don't know. Get a calculator, dumbass. Go check. I don't know.
Don't speak about the genocide in Gaza at all, for instance. And that's another
content.
You'll have to go check their specific feeds. But Brian Tyler Cohen.
You claim that they were primarily pro-Israel, right?
Yeah. Well, some people that are pro-Israel just don't speak about the genocide in Gaza at all.
That makes you pro. So if you don't call it a genocide, number one, and then if you don't speak on the topic, that makes you pro-Israel? It's fucking retarded.
For instance, and that's another
the same
thing
as being pro-Israel.
Yes, because
this is fucking retarded, bro. Kill me, dude. Get me out of here. I'm going back to eugenics tomorrow.
Because a way that pro-Israel narratives have been shaped by the media is by not mentioning the genocide. So intentionally refusing to cover.
Intentionally refusing. How do you even know that? How do you even ascertain that bias, as opposed to accidentally not talking about it?
The genocide, especially as it was this politically relevant topic.
Is that what you were alleging?
No, I'm just saying, like, if you look at the pro-Israel kind of creator landscape, there's a range of pro-Israel people. There's people that are straight up making content with the IDF. They're super overt about it. And then
how many people in America are pro-DNC people are that? What? How many are that? How many people are like that? What?
There are people that are a little bit more behind the scenes, people that are a little bit quieter about it. They might not be overt, but they're still.
Well, by the way, that you're suggesting that if somebody chooses not to discuss the genocide in Gaza, and like that makes them pro-Israel. I find that to be
no, that's not
that's literally what you just said. That is literally what you just said. Is it the clown mirror? I need to go back to calling these out. We could write a whole list of fallacies that just Taylor Lorenz engages in. Every time you try to repeat a person's argument back to them, for some reason, it's just never correct. You can never state it correctly, and they always refuse your characterization of what they've said every single fucking time.
I said, that's not what I said.
Wait a second.
What I said is that some people, no, what I said is that some people who are pro-Israel,
we obfuscate.
The way that they sort of, the way that their content manifests is that they are not as overt. So what they'll
the way that some people make content is that the content doesn't manifest in talking about the genocide.
Do is they'll try to tamp down discussion. They'll be sometimes deleting comments, a lot of times just intentionally ignoring the issue, or when they're asked, to interview a politician, especially this was a big issue in the lead up to.
They don't ask them questions relentlessly about Israel-Palestine and the genocide.
The 2024 election, you had people saying, like, sort of minimizing the issue, attempting to minimize it, attempting not to get people on the left to talk about it.
Okay, does that qualify? Does that apply to any creator that was mentioned in your article?
Well, you'll have to go through and do an audit of all of their content, but it's certainly.
I thought 15 people audited your article, assuming you even wrote it at this point. I thought isn't it your article? If Hutch were to go there and do all the work on this, is she going to stick him on the byline? Does he get credit for this? Like,
certainly,
isn't that your job? No, you made the claim.
It is.
Yeah,
you said that the group was primarily pro-Israel. Isn't it your job to go through their
from the group that we saw? From the amount of creators that we saw, that was a common theme. But that wasn't necessarily a.
You didn't say a common theme. You said they were primarily pro-Israel.
Yeah, from the group of creators that we saw, that we were evaluating.
So I'll ask again, was anybody that you mentioned in your article someone that you would say was pro-Israel?
Well, you'll have to go look at the article and figure that out for yourself based on the creators.
Wait,
not
I'm speaking
all of the
with
creators.
you. I don't understand.
But we're not going to, there's a lot of creators that we spoke to for this article that we know are in chorus that weren't mentioned in the article.
I'm just asking you if anyone in your article you consider to be pro-Israel.
Well, I don't know. You'll have to, I really don't. I don't remember which creators that we named and didn't name off the top of our head, but I think you can just go and look at them and frankly ask the creators themselves. That's a great.
Also, listen to the which creators we named. Who else is writing this article and why aren't they listed somewhere? I want to see that name. Talk about transparency. I want to know who else wrote this article. This seems pretty important. Was it somebody from Omidyar? Like, who else is writing this article with you that you're describing the article as being written by we and us now? Who's on the team, bruh? Also, I like how before, if you're not covering Israel, if you're not covering the genocide, that makes you pro-Israel. Well, how do I figure out if somebody's pro-Israel? I don't know. Ask them. Do you think somebody who's not covering the genocide is going to tell you openly, yeah, I'm pro-Israel, that's why I don't cover the genocide? What?
And didn't name off the top of our head. But I think you can just go and look at them and frankly ask the creators themselves. That's a great thing to do.
I just don't know why you would say that 90 influencers were primarily pro-Israel, but you can't name.
No. We said 90. We said the creators that we were able to suss out as being part of the program. So one thing that we asked is for them to publish a roster so that people could take a broader look. Maybe this is just a section, right? Maybe this is just a small section.
So it could be an unrepresentative section.
Exactly. It could be a totally unrepresentative section. They could have.
But what was the methodology?
What? Also, I like how people asking methodology. Like this motherfucker is going to say anything beyond, I don't know, we saw fucking 5 random dudes, whoever the fuck we came across. What was the methodology? Oh my God.
To decipher whether they're pro-Israel, was it
mostly whether like their own state.
Oh, that.
Or whether they had shown up in other influencer, like pro sort of Israel influencer efforts.
I'm sure there are some, but how many pro-Israel left-wing efforts were there the past year and a half? I must have missed a lot of these, or I didn't get offered. Where the fuck is my goddamn IDF payout? I need my Mossad money, goddammit.
Oddly. I mean, there are people also that I've talked to in this program that identify as Zionists privately and don't want to identify as a Zionist publicly.
Bullshit. The number, by the way, is fucking 0. Sue me if there is no shot that somebody went to Taylor Lorenz and they're like, just so you know, Taylor, I am Zionist, but I like to keep that under wraps. Taylor Lorenz, person who writes character assassination hit pieces on literally every motherfucker that you don't like. Bullshit. Not true. No shot. 0% chance.
So I'm not trying to put specific creators on blast. I actually don't think that being pro or anti-Israel was ever something that was necessarily, something that would get you in or out of chorus at all. But it clearly is
that's useful to clear up. So
yeah,
as you sit here,
I said that after this array went up too. Yeah.
Go ahead, Hutch. But in your conversation on current affair, you did absolutely buy into the manufacturing logic that those hosts were presenting, which they were saying, like they were heavily suggesting that the creators that were invited into course were chosen because they were not speaking up about Gaza.
So you're talking about a guy that used to work for Brian Tyler Cohen, who was working.
No, I understand that.
What? Wait, what is her
response?
Go ahead, Hutch.
But in your conversation on Current Affair, you did absolutely buy into the manufacturing logic that those hosts were presenting, which they were saying, like, they were heavily suggesting that the creators that were invited into course were chosen because they were not speaking up about Gaza.
So you're talking about a guy that used to work for Brian Tyler Cohen, who was working.
No, I understand that, but you agreed with that framing.
For David Pakman. Well, listen, I'm not going to disagree with whatever he wants to say was his experience working for David Pakman, one of the leaders of Chorus. This is his former producer.
He was commenting on your reporting. He was going beyond his experience, and he was suggesting that Chorus was choosing creators because they were not speaking up about Israel.
He said that he was told when he worked for David Pakman that they were not supposed to be overt about the Israel stuff.
No,
and you can go back and listen to that and take issue with that. But he worked for David Pakman. I'm not going to argue with him working for David Pakman.
Taylor, he was speaking about your reporting.
In the context of his job, he worked for David Pakman. He was David Pakman's producer, so he would know better than anyone whether David Pakman, what his boundaries were around issues related to Israel and what sort of content they wanted to put up. He would know. He was literally David Pakman's producer, so he knows a lot better than I do. He has a lot more visibility into David Pakman's content than I do.
I think you're being evasive again because I'm not talking about his experience. I'm talking about his characterization of your reporting.
Well, his characterization is shaped by his experience, which he has a lot more of than I do.
But you bolstered that suggestion of manufacturing consent about this issue in Gaza.
I'm gonna again defer you to him. He actually worked for David Pakman, so you
agreed with the framing, Taylor. You agreed with the framing when they were having that conversation.
He worked for David Pakman, so if he says that these were the lines that David Pakman drove when he worked for him, and that David Pakman told him this, and he had visibility not into just David Pakman, but all these sort of people that David Pakman worked with, I am going to listen to him because again, he's a primary source.
Okay. Another part of your reporting referred to an older article that you wrote, I think a few months before this Chorus one, and you had described a 2024 situation where the Biden administration was, your quote was, snubbing creators who had lightly criticized Biden. Do you remember saying that?
I think you're talking about my Washington Post article when I wrote about the Biden administration effectively blacklisting content creators.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in your Wired article about Chorus, you described that as the Biden. You said in 2024, President Joe Biden's White House snubbed several prominent content creators after they lightly criticized the administration over its policies on climate change, COVID, Gaza, and the TikTok ban.
Yes. Yeah, they did.
Okay.
Yeah.
My issue with that is the word lightly, because I actually clicked on that article and I looked up the creators that you mentioned in that article. One of them was Aidan Cohn Murphy. He was tweeting that Biden created a man-made famine, was ignoring the law to enable.
Yeah, but he was blacklisted before all of that. He was blacklisted for the climate stuff.
Well, you mentioned him, and so when you say lightly,
but at that point he had only lightly criticized. So the Biden.
No, that's not true. I went through his tweets and I found tweets in 2024.
You're talking about Aidan Cohn Murphy, who is the co-founder of TikTok for Biden. Just to be clear, the co-founder of TikTok for Biden. So Aidan ended up being very critical of Joe Biden.
That was a 2020. That was a 2020 effort, right?
No, that was well into 2022. That was
TikTok for Biden.
Yeah, exactly. Gen Z for Change was.
But in 2024,
still, even how she says right here, like 2022, sure, but this is years ago, right?
But in 2024, Taylor, he was directly accusing Biden of being complicit in genocide.
But we're not talking about that. He's speaking, by the way, as a member of Gen Z for Change, and he's talking about the evolution of TikTok for Biden through Gen Z for Change. And part of the reason why TikTok for Biden became Gen Z for Change, and part of the reason why there was this whole evolution, is because Biden's whoever was in charge of sort of digital press there was blacklisting creators that were even just lightly critical. And I'm not saying that Aidan.
She's backing up to the general claim now because she doesn't want to talk about the specific one.
Not lightly criticizing Biden.
Maybe Aidan eventually was not, but
it wasn't just him. There was also Elise Joshi. She made similar accusations. She accused the Biden administration of being complicit in genocide, right?
No. But Elise wasn't banned for any of that. It was the climate stuff. This was.
How do you even know that? And even if it was for the climate stuff, also she's doing this thing, Pixie does this in the deposition. She's doing this thing where she has like highly specific knowledge when she feels like it's an argument that she can defend. But then for her other articles, like, I don't fucking remember writing any of that shit. I don't 15 editors, brah. But you want to talk about Jake, the co-founder, 2022, founded this thing, and why specifically? It's like, yeah, okay.
It's the climate stuff and for COVID. So this is all back in. No, this is all back in 2022, 2023, even 2021, when Biden started to say, hey, COVID is over, everybody get back to work. A lot of disability justice activists, a lot of climate activists were like lightly being like, hey, well, what about this? What about these promises that you made, right?
Okay, in your Chorus article, you do reference that several creators were snubbed for lightly criticizing him. And then when I click on the hyperlink, you know, the creators that you did mention, they were not lightly criticizing Biden.
Because those are some of the people that we quoted as giving sort of expert commentary on that fracturing, which is, again, quoting Aidan, the founder of TikTok for Biden, talking about Gen Z for Change. But a lot of the creators that were ultimately snubbed, I would say, blacklisted, they would say. They certainly did not. In some cases, people from the digital team just didn't like that they were liking posts that were critical of the administration.
Well, I read the article. I didn't read anything about that. I just read about.
Well, I'm happy to elaborate.
Well, doesn't matter. Sorry, you publish an article. That's it. There's like when you argue with people about a movie and they're like, well, if you look at the comic on blah, 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 it's like, oh, I didn't read a comic. It was a movie, motherfucker.
To zoom out, Taylor, I mean, the point here is not just...
Also, notice how for the chorus article, Hutch needed to go do all of his own homework and all of his own research to figure out what's going on. But for this one, she's happy to volunteer when she's defending her own. These people got blacklisted by the Biden admin. Like, I can tell you every single tweet they made that I know I can defend, and I can defend every single part of these people because they're on my team and I love them. But when it comes to people she's slandering in the Wired article, I don't know about those people. Fuck them, dude. They probably fucking want to kill every Palestinian kid they see. I don't know. Fuck, go look it up. Go look it up yourself. I don't know. Go check their own shit. I don't know. Go see every single fucking post they've made to see if I can concretely say that they've never brought up, Palestine, or that I know that they're intentionally ducking bringing up Israel because they haven't brought it up and they should have. Like,
oh, did they or did they not lately criticize? It's that if you read this paragraph, it seems to be that you're painting President Joe Biden and his administration as this snowflakey,
yes.
like, oh, you can't even say the slightest bad thing.
They
in
were
reality,
extremely. They were extremely.
There you go.
The Biden administration, the way that they dealt with not just the sort of the creators, compared to Obama, not compared to Trump. Trump's even more crazy, but really, I would say compared to Obama, they were incredibly sensitive. And
not to show my age, but like, how much social media what even existed in 2008, 2012? In 2012, more for sure, but like, what? I don't know. I don't even know how to engage with that statement.
I think that sensitivity only grew throughout his presidency for so many reasons. Number one, he was older. And, I think there was a lot more protectionism. They were less likely to let a lot of creators in. They were getting nervous about unfiltered press. This is also why they started to get very prickly with the actual journalists as well. And again, nothing compared to Trump. Like, Trump kicked out all the reporters from the Pentagon and just gave us influencers. However, he was incredibly prickly, and still even compared to his team, compared to most of the other.
Well, Taylor, I'm just going off of your reporting, and I did read both of these articles like multiple times. I tried my best to really take what you were saying at face value. And
can you pull up Peace Coast chat during this? I'm sure it's all relentlessly defending Taylor and then shitting on Hutch and calling him a pedophile or some crazy shit.
The only podcast with a
How deep is this? 1 hour ago. So maybe
of the administration.
Well, I read the article. I didn't read anything about that. I just read about.
Well, I'm happy to elaborate.
To zoom out, Taylor, I mean,
Hey, Destiny. I don't think Destiny is anti-Israel enough, but I don't think he is a Zionist. How most leftists use the term. I wonder if somebody brought it up earlier. Why are y'all bringing up Destiny? He's not in chorus. He's irrelevant to this discussion. Wasn't he on record telling, I don't know, soldiers? Oh, he meant to say IDF. Soldiers to not film themselves committing crimes. Hold the line, Hutch. Don't let her bullshit. Sorry, IDF. Oh, Taylor can't take criticism at all. Is Hutch arguing Pac-Man is not pro-Israel? If you are a political commentator and you never talk about Israel, I think it is fair to say that you have pro-Israel views that you know won't play well with the audience. What do these guys say when you bring up the fact that you never mention like Yemen and what happened there, that you never mention like any of Turkey's historical shit or modern day occupation of fucking Cyprus or their treatment of the Kurdish people, or you don't bring up any, what was going on with Hezbollah in Syria. You don't bring up, like, there are so many things that you could bring up that you don't. I don't know. Hutch, let her finish her sentences. I feel like his YouTube chat is actually more balanced than I thought it would be. Or generally leaning in favor of Hutch, I think.
Point here is not just, oh, did they or did they not lately criticize? It's that if you read this paragraph, it seems to be that you're painting President Joe Biden and his administration as this snowflakey, like, oh, you can't even say the slightest bad thing. In reality,
they were extremely, the Biden administration, the way that they dealt with not just the sort of the creators, compared to Obama, not compared to Trump. Trump's even more crazy. But really, I would say compared to Obama, getting nervous about unfiltered press. This is also why they started to get very prickly with the actual journalists as well. and again, nothing compared to Trump. Like Trump kicked out all the reporters from the Pentagon and just gave us influencers. However, he was incredibly prickly, and still even compared to his team, compared to most of the other.
Well, Taylor, I'm just going off of your reporting, and I did read both of these articles like multiple times. I tried my best to really take what you were saying at face value and approach it in good faith. And just in your reporting, the creators that you did cite, I think, went well beyond.
Eventually, but not when they were blacklisted.
No,
eventually,
in 2024.
Khalil Green. I'm sorry, Khalil Green is not a radical. Like, I'm sorry, it's just not true. Like, these are not a lot of these people. I'm not
calling them a radical. I'm just I'm
saying
issue with your characterization of their criticism.
Elise and Aiden eventually began criticizing him a lot more openly. However, neither of those started criticizing him very openly
in 2024.
No, okay, but neither of them were doing that when they got blacklisted. And Khalil Green has never come out and been some sort of aggressive critic of the Biden administration.
What was the timeline for when they got blacklisted? Do you remember when that happened?
Between 2020 and 2024, it's sort of throughout that whole time period.
What? Okay, that's a pretty broad range of dates, but okay.
Because it was COVID, it was climate, it was Gaza eventually, it was student.
The examples that you gave, they were not light criticisms when I read this. So.
Well, COVID, a lot of this was also them trying to do stuff behind the scenes. I mean, these were people that, and not just them, by the way, this was dozens of content creators had this experience, and journalists as well had this experience throughout the Biden administration. You can read about it in Alex Thompson's great book. The Biden administration was they became more and more intense about restricting access to the administration, restricting access to press, they for good reason. Now we know why, but it is a fact.
Okay, listen, I don't want to bombard you. Let me make one more kind of if you don't mind, if you're okay, I'd like to ask you just one more question regarding the piece, and then we can kind of get to the overall point and just finish.
How come you never asked me your piece?
Dude, look at her eyes. God, she's such a fucking demon. Look. Oh my God. She must practice these in the mirror. She's got to.
One more question regarding the...
Fuck, is there... Hold on. Oh my God.
Or kind of if you don't mind, if you're okay, I'd like to ask you just one more question regarding the piece, and then we can kind of get to the overall point and just finish.
How come you never asked me your piece, though, a guy?
Okay, let's hear it.
So the part,
the diagonal eye flutter. Jesus Christ!
Part of your reporting that I think is the weakest, the most vulnerable to attack is your characterization of the contract language. Specifically, when you talked about the contract required chorus creators to funnel booking appearances through Chorus, they had to get express authorization before they what was it, put up content or set up interviews, this kind of a thing?
No, they had to leverage the Chorus newsroom when they were booking appearances.
In the contract.
Hold on.
Sorry. When you talked about the contract required chorus creators to funnel booking appearances through Chorus, they had to get express authorization before they what was it, put up content or set up interviews, this kind of a thing?
No, they had to leverage the Chorus newsroom when they were booking appearances.
That's a lie. I don't believe it. Nope. She's never released a contract saying otherwise, never released a statement saying otherwise. I've only seen newer Chorus contracts at this point. I don't believe nothing that she posted about that contract affirmed that. I think it's either a misreading that she had of the contract or just a blatant fucking lie. I don't believe this point at all.
In the contract, that's what it said.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, and
oh boy, are we going to pull out the classic, I can't publish the contract, we'd get sued?
Look, certain people had certain aspects of the contract enforced against them. Certain people didn't have aspects of the contract enforced against them.
I don't recall a single enforcement mechanism or a single enforcement of the contract against anybody. That would have actually been really strong reporting. Can anybody recall that? That would have been really, if she could say that a content creator attempted to interview Mamdani or tried to interview some politician and Chorus stepped in and reprimanded them for it, that would have been a really strong piece of reporting. But she's not a real journalist or a real reporter, so she would never have anything of substance like that in a piece. She writes AI slop and somehow sells it to mainstream outlets.
And
did you see any creators that were told that they had to funnel all their bookings through Chorus?
We did speak to a creator who didn't sign the contract because of that.
No, that's not what I asked.
That was a good question by Hutch. She was fucking lied. She's a liar, right? You heard her lie about that, right? That was a fucking lie. This is what I had to do in my conversation with her. You have to push on every specific thing you possibly can. So she just admitted she completely fucking lied about that, right?
Through Chorus?
We did speak to a creator who didn't sign the contract.
Wait, sorry.
Funnel all their
contract enforced against them. And
did you see any creators that were told that they had to funnel all their bookings through Chorus?
That's the claim that Taylor just made. She just said that everybody has to funnel all their things through Chorus.
We did speak to a creator who didn't sign the contract because of that.
That's not...
So what? That's their interpretation of it? Why the fuck would you care about that? And they didn't even sign the contract. What?
They had to funnel. They had to leverage.
What was it? Put up content or set up interviews, this kind of a thing?
No, they had to go. They had to funnel. They had to leverage the Chorus newsroom when they were making, when they were booking appearances.
That's what she said, right? What was Hutch's question here?
Creators to funnel the contract language. Specifically, when you talked about the contract required Chorus creators to funnel booking appearances through Chorus, they had to get express authorization before they what was it, put up content or set up interviews, this kind of a thing?
No, they had to go. They had to funnel. They had to leverage the Chorus newsroom when they were making, when they were booking appearances.
In the contract, that's what it said.
Yeah.
But that's not. Well, we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, and look, like certain people had certain aspects of.
Any creators that were told that they had to funnel all their bookings through Chorus?
We did speak to a creator who didn't sign the contract because of that.
No, that's not what I asked. Hang on.
So
yeah, they were told that. Yes, they were told that. Yes, they were told that.
Not that they were told. I'm asking you, did you actually get a single example from any creator who actually had to funnel booking through Chorus?
Nope. No.
Well, yeah, we spoke to a lot of creators that funneled booking through Chorus.
That's not what he said. I wish I could do this. This is such a good skill. Dude, for gaslighting, lying. Oh my God. Do you see how easily she just lied there? Hold on. Did you catch these lies? I'm not joking. It's impressive.
Really had to funnel booking through Chorus.
Did you talk to anybody who was required to, who had to funnel booking through Chorus?
Well, yeah, we spoke to a lot of creators that funneled booking through Chorus.
Yeah, we talked to creators who funnel booking through. That's not what he said. He said we're required to. We're prohibited from booking stuff otherwise. It's not the same thing.
No.
Yes.
Hang on. I'm asking you, did you talk to anyone that told you that all of the bookings that they did had to go through Chorus?
We spoke to a creator
who didn't sign the contract. She lied. I knew she lied about this. I am coming. I knew she fucking lied about this. She did. She was a fucking liar about it. 100%. And when I think Pisco was on, I won't say my side, but was on this side, and it was Aaron arguing against him, was trying to, I think, make this absurd argument that Taylor meant something different or whatever the fuck bullshit. But Taylor fucking lied about this part in the article that she wrote. 100%.
Who was told that all of the bookings that they had to do were, if they wanted to do bookings, it would have to be filtered through Chorus. And so he chose not to take that. Just let me finish. Why don't you let me finish?
You're not answering my question.
I am answering your question.
You're not. I'm asking in practice. Did you have a single example of a creator who told you that Chorus in practice?
She's going to repeat the last lie she just said. We talked to people who funneled through Chorus.
Just told them they had to funnel everything through Chorus.
Yes.
Can you? What you just described was not that. So could you?
Well, I'm trying to give you additional context, but you don't want it.
No, I do, but you're not answering my question.
I just answered your question. Yes.
I don't think you are.
Can you repeat it, Taylor, just in case Hutch missed something? But I'm not sure I heard it to be the same as what was described in the article. So
we spoke. I don't even think we went into this amount of detail in the article. We spoke to a creator.
What? But following the initial outreach, many creators expressed concern about some stipulations, according to copies of the contract viewed by Wired. So this isn't even the creator's interpretation. She's saying that, according to copies of the contract viewed by Wired, creators in the program must funnel all bookings with lawmakers and political leaders through Chorus. Creators also have to loop Chorus in on any independently organized engagements with government officials or political leaders. Technically, these two sentences are contradicting to each other because this is saying at the end here, they just have to loop them in. And the first one is saying creators of the program have to funnel all bookings with lawmakers and political leaders through Chorus. So the sentences aren't even consistent. But so this was a fucking lie. This was never true. This was not true.
And approach it in good faith. And just in your reporting, the creators that you did cite, I think, went well beyond.
Eventually, but not when they were blacklisted.
No,
eventually,
in 2024.
Khalil Green. I'm sorry, Khalil Green.
Well, we just went to, I'm sorry, my brain just got fucked.
To a creator that was told when he pushed back on the contract before the contract was signed, he was like, hey, I kind of want to sign this contract. I kind of want to do this program, but there's this clause that says I have to use the Chorus newsroom. Do I really have to use the Chorus newsroom for booking? He was told through his agent, yes, you do have to use the Chorus newsroom for booking.
I think that she could be honest here, but it's a lie. She's making an honest statement possibly, but it's like a lie. Like, imagine if I were to sign up with Chorus and part of the Chorus contract is we're going to make this newsroom available to you guys. We expect you guys to utilize it. If we are going to pay you, you're going to sign up. You guys need to do, at least fucking one booking or whatever. I don't know if they had an actual, in the terms, you have to book 2 people per month or whatever, but you need to do some booking. So when a person says, do I have to book something through your newsroom? And they're like, yeah, you have to do a booking. Yeah, Jesus, of course. Yeah, you got to do at least one. Yeah. And she's like, they said in the contract that they had to do bookings through this. But I don't know, there's a grammar trick here that's being played. What was the other topic this came up in? I think it was the men are rapists. I saw some woman, or I think there was discourse about this. It was somebody tweets out men are rapists. And then I think a guy quote tweets and he responds, he's like, it's kind of crazy that you're saying all men are rapists. That's a crazy thing to tweet out. And then the woman was like, I didn't say all men are rapists. I just said that men are rapists. Seems like you're the one that interpreted it that way. And I was like, well, hold on. That's kind of a tricky, we're playing a tricky grammar game at that point, right? Like black people are thieves. And somebody's like, that sounds kind of racist, bro. What do you mean? There are black thieves, aren't there? There are black people that are thieves. Well, but you said black people are thieves. I didn't say all black people are thieves. Like when you just say the one thing, it kind of sounds like you're talking about the entire category. You don't usually have to specify all. Like chairs have 4 legs. It kind of sounds like you're saying all chairs have 4 legs. And she's playing this game here where it's like they had to do their bookings through Chorus. All of them? Because that implies that they had to do all their bookings through Chorus. I didn't say all of them. I don't even know if they've gotten to that part yet. Sorry, fuck. Okay, I'll stop breaking this down. I'm sorry. She just lies so much. It's an insane lie.
Chorus newsroom. Do I really have to use the Chorus newsroom for booking? He was told through his agent, yes, you do have to use the Chorus newsroom for booking. Other people, when they took part in the program, when they said, oh yeah, I'm going to book this thing, they were told you have to use the Chorus newsroom for that, and they did ultimately use the Chorus newsroom. Other people,
like examples, an email, a communication, anywhere,
use the Chorus newsroom and never questioned it. It was in the contract, and it would have never occurred to them to even question what was in the contract because they signed a contract saying this, so they didn't challenge it. When they were asked for comment on this, Chorus didn't deny it. And that's the truth. That's all the information.
Chorus didn't deny it. It sounds like Chorus didn't provide comment at all, right? I think there was some guy at the end that said something. Graham Wilson of the Elias Law Group, whose participation in a Zoom call was reported upon. He did not respond to Wired's pre-publication email requesting comment, reached out to Wired on several points. So that's it. So I don't think Chorus commented at all. That's a very sneaky way of her saying that, though. I don't know if you would actually be allowed to say that, generally speaking, in a publication. Like if somebody were to write an article saying like Stephen Bonnell is a murderer, and then they reach out to me and I don't respond for comment, usually it'll say like, we reached out to Stephen Bonnell and Mr. Bonnell didn't respond to request for comment or didn't respond to pre-publication request for comment. I don't know if you could write in the article though, Stephen Bonnell didn't deny that he had murdered somebody. That's kind of a different claim because it implies that we had a conversation and I didn't specifically deny that thing, but whatever, bro.
When they were asked for comment on this, Chorus didn't deny it. And that's the truth. That's all the information.
When we were asked for a comment on it, they didn't comment.
They didn't respond to it, but that's not the same as verifying.
No, they didn't deny it.
So they did respond?
Well, that's not the same as verifying that the letter of the contract was actually being enforced. And that's the big issue here.
They didn't deny it. And they didn't deny it.
But she keeps saying that. Did they respond at all? Fuck. Does anybody ask that? I don't think. Did Chorus respond at all? I thought Chorus didn't respond for comment at all.
It's still your job as a journalist to verify that it's something that's enforced.
We did verify it with the content creators who said on the record that this happened, and that's why it's in the story.
I don't think you demonstrated that in the story.
You didn't.
We have a quote from a creator saying that he chose not to sign the contract over this.
That's not the same thing, though. I feel like you're being quite...
Yeah, so
she is slimy as fuck.
To be clear, like Taylor, there's a difference between a creator understood this contract to be, I can't do anything unless I go through the newsroom, and they were not allowed to do it unless they went through the newsroom. Correct. And unless they clarify that, because they did not comment, it's not really established. And the article portrays it as that is exactly how it was.
True.
The contract, that is how all evidence that we have shows that that's how it was. But did some people...
All evidence that we have? So you don't have anything dispositive? You don't show it actually being enforced that way? You can't conclusively say? Now you just made that sound probabilistic. What do you mean? Are we inferring here?
People that maybe not have the contract enforced against them? Sure, I'm sure, because clearly they were only enforcing certain parts of the contract for certain people. Yes. So clearly.
Well, no, I mean, what is your evidence for that, by the way?
Speaking to the content creators.
Nothing about that was in your article. That gave me the sense that they were giving preferential treatment and not enforcing it here and enforcing it there. That was not in your article.
Well, literally, I mean, you can see in the article, certain people, why do you think this article exists? Because the content creators were frustrated. They wanted to speak out about things. They felt like they weren't able to speak out.
Why weren't they able to? Couldn't they just tweet about it?
That's part of why they spoke.
Well, the other thing was like the takedown clause. Like that sounds very restrictive, right? The way that your article describes that language is that, Chorus reserved the right to like strike down any content.
We quote directly from the contract. Yeah.
I understand. The problem here, Taylor, is with all three of these things, the funneling, express authorization, takedown clauses, would this not be standard language in a contract for a 501c4?
I've seen a lot of these contracts. I just wrote another story for Wired on another dark money influencer program, and none of this language has been in the other contracts that I've seen that are for similar programs.
Well, this here is a talent incubator program. The other one just sounded like a standard ad campaign, no? And she definitely didn't publish any part of the contract there. These are totally different types of contracts. This sounds like something a contract illiterate person would say when comparing the two, or just somebody who's lying. More likely that she's a fucking liar, but...
Okay, but you understand that, like, obviously, like a 501c4, they have to be in compliance with like the law, and to protect their status, they can't have a certain threshold of their operational kind of structure and funds and stuff going towards things like campaigns and elections and things like that. So in that context,
I'm telling you, I write about dark money.
So what Hutch is saying is absolutely correct. I guess he must have done a lot of research on this. And Taylor is lying. God, I hate her so much. I legitimately hate this fucking person. So for C4s, for 501c4s, Hutch said it was a percentage. I don't know if you can have any money going directly to campaigns or to campaign-aligned PACs. Or if you could, it would be like subject to the same campaign contributions. So like, for instance, okay, let's say that I have a super PAC, and let's say that I look at a political action committee that's campaign aligned, right? I think your campaign contribution limit, I think it's $3,000 for PACs. I don't know if C4s could donate directly to PACs. If they can, or if individuals can, I'm going to be restricted at either $3,000 or $5,000, right? But hold on. Oh, I just got this super sneaky tricky idea. What if I pay like 20 influencers all $6,000 to go do a thing for them? And also I tell, or, I wink all of my influencers, you guys should all donate like $1,000 each to that campaign, like on a stream or something to like drive up hype for it or something, right? My guess is almost certainly that C4 would get in big trouble. Hold on. You just donated, basically, you funneled $20,000 to a PAC, to like an FEC regulated entity that has a campaign contribution limit. This is what Dinesh D'Souza got fucked for, by the way, was giving $10,000 to a married couple and telling both of them to donate to his friend. You can't do that. So what he's talking about right here, what Hutch is talking about is a company is obviously going to cover their ass, and they're going to say, hey, you can't contribute or send this money to any direct political person without talking to us first, because they have to cover their ass to make sure that the people that they're paying as talent aren't doing shit with their money that might call into question what they're telling their content creators and their incubator program to do, right? Because it looks really shady. What if, it came out that 90 people from the Chorus incubator program all donated $2,000 to some political action committee? Well, now it kind of looks like the fucking slush money dark fund is basically funneling money through to an official campaign to get around contribution limits. That's what it looks like. I'm sorry. So what Hutch is saying here, and I feel like we even saw that language in another contract. I don't remember we saw it in one specifically, but this is absolutely going to be boilerplate on any C4. My guess is on any 501c4, this is going to be boilerplate. Even in the new Chorus contracts, all right, I have to bring it up again. I'm pretty sure this language was still there. And it makes sense why, because you want to cover your ass this way, 100%.
Elections, operational kind of structure and funds and stuff going towards things like campaigns and elections and things like that. So in that context,
I'm telling you, I write about dark language.
Hang on, real quick. Could you not read this language as a company that is trying to protect itself, the status, and the creators themselves from violating the law?
Yes.
Well, the creators themselves often didn't agree with what was in the contract and were frustrated.
Totally fucking irrelevant. And no offense, creators are fucking retards. Why the fuck would I ever care about what a fucking YouTuber or a streamer? Half these fucking retards signed their lives away in contracts and don't even remember. Where is Hutch at? Remember Machinima? The Machinima days? I know you do. You were probably in Machinima. Dude, creators are retarded. Also, I'm sorry, you're a journalist. And I thought you had 20 million fucking legal people to consult with for the contract shit. Why the fuck would you go by, or at the very least, if you're going by a creator's interpretation, put that in the article. These creators thought that meant that they wouldn't be able to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Put that in there then.
That they couldn't speak out, for instance, and disclose that they were in the program. There's nothing to do with the law. Well, that's in the contract, and that's exactly what we're talking about here, right?
No, it's not, though. I'm talking about the funneling, express authorization, takedown clauses. All of these can be explained by a 501c4 trying to be compliant with the law.
No, because I just wrote about another 501c4 that literally just ran another dark money campaign. In some cases, approached some of the same exact Chorus influencers, and none of this was in that contract. So,
but their lack of potentially standard 501c things is not, not evidence that this is.
But I'm saying it's not standard. You guys are saying it's standard. I'm saying I have not seen it in other contracts. That doesn't mean that it doesn't exist in some contracts.
Hutch, are you claiming it's standard? You're not claiming it's standard, are you?
Well, based on what I looked...
He was the first Machinima signing. Damn. Everybody got fucked, I think, by the early Machinima contracts. Everybody got fucked by Machinima early on. That was like your rite of passage into the YouTube world. Although I think it was mainly FPS players that were signing to Machinima and stuff. For RTS, I think it was the Game Station or Polaris was the early MCN that rose up. That's a long. This is like 15 years ago.
Looked into this language would be consistent with a 501c4 that is protecting.
Is it your claim that it's standard or not?
Hang tight, Pisco. We can talk in a second. So Taylor,
conveniently, he doesn't want to answer you. Conveniently,
no, if a creator, for example, uploaded a video to their channel where they were endorsing a particular candidate, and the channel, this video was framed as something that came from Chorus, could that threaten Chorus's nonprofit status?
I think you'll have to look into the details of sort of like how that creator was disclosing it.
It's fucking just so bad faith, dude. So obviously bad faith. Our system cannot survive like these types of actors, by the way, especially foreign paid ones, right? That we can't. If I recall, Polaris was way after Machinima. No, I think one came first. He was either the Game Station or Polaris, but I think it was the Game Station first, and I think they turned into Polaris, or Polaris turned into the Game Station. I think.
The answer is yes. It could possibly threaten their status. So if they had a clause in their contract that they could take down content, would it not be a better, like a good faith interpretation that they could very easily be trying to protect?
I've never seen a C4 put this stuff in a contract before.
Okay.
And
well, I can look into that after this.
But maybe they do, maybe they do. But like I said, I have reported on campaigns and I haven't seen it there before. I haven't, for instance, the Build American AI thing I just wrote about, they don't have Build American AI newsroom that you have to use, like I haven't seen this sort of language.
Would you concede that it's possible? Would you concede that it's possible that this language was specifically crafted to make sure that they were compliant with the law?
Until they comment on the record and explain their thinking behind it, I mean, we have no idea what their motivations were.
Well, but Taylor, I mean, like, let's be realistic here. Like, obviously, there are things that these people are restricted by. They cannot appear partisan in certain aspects, and
but that doesn't trickle down to the creator. And I'm actually not confident at all in your reading of that. I would really want to talk to.
I was just curious. I don't know if I could ever find one of these, like publicly, but I just Googled 501c4 standard contract political. It's just kind of funny. This is the second link I clicked. Complying with the rules governing 501c4 organizations, key issues, maintaining tax status. Under the Internal Revenue Code, a 501c4 is a nonprofit organization with a mission to engage in social welfare activities benefiting the public good. It is not allowed to be used as a vehicle to directly benefit the business interests of the company that establishes it. The courts have not been clear as to the precise level of social or community benefit the organization's activity must engender to overcome any resulting benefit to the company. To mitigate this risk, one could take steps to separate the C4 from the establishing company. Possibilities include, but are not limited to, ensuring the company is not the sole source of the 501c4's funding and or having outside representation of the 501c4's governing board. One could also vet the nonprofit's activities to ensure that there is a strong position that they serve a social welfare interest. 501c4 organizations are prohibited from engaging primarily in political activity. Like, my guess is if we could find like a bunch of like C4 contracts, I bet they have a lot of boilerplate language to try to make sure that this separation of things from like actual hardcore like PACs or campaign aligned PACs or individual candidates, to make sure that there's a separation of funds there. Like that, my guess is it's pretty boilerplate. Even if it's not boilerplate, if I saw language like that in a contract, that's how I would read it as.
But that doesn't trickle down to the creator, and I'm actually not confident at all in your reading of that. I would really want to talk to a lawyer, and I'd want to talk.
Excuse me. Fuck! I'm trying not to use female-coded bad words for. You had lawyers that you consulted with. Not only that, you literally quote a legal scholar or whatever in your stupid fucking article. Elizabeth Dubois, an assistant professor and university research chair in politics, communication, and technology at the University of Ottawa, who has researched the ways influencers are reshaping the U.S. political system, says that we are seeing influencers being pulled into these dark campaigns or shadow campaigns where the legal aspect is murky at best. Sometimes it is actually clear that influencers are being used to, for example, evade spending limits. Oh, I wonder what kind of a clause we could add to a contract to kind of cover our asses to make sure that the government doesn't think that we're using influencers to evade FEC-established campaign spending limits.
Talk to somebody that works on these contracts and say, hey, I've reported on lots of these contracts. Why is it only in this contract? And I'd want but that doesn't trickle down to the creator, and I'm actually not confident at all in your reading of that. I would really want to talk to a lawyer, and I'd want to talk to somebody that works on these contracts and say, hey, I've reported on lots of these contracts. Why is it only in this contract and not others? Why do they structure it this way and not in other ways?
My question is, why would you not immediately look at this like news reporter tool? Because the way it's painted in the article is like this sinister controlling tool, and not what makes the most sense to me, which is you need to make sure that we're not violating the law when you're reaching out to these places.
Because I've never known another C4
were able to schedule things outside with other politicians, so long as it wasn't chorus related, right?
Yeah, I've never. My point is
the funny thing here is if you pushed her specifically, I bet she hasn't seen any contracts from the other article that we read today by her. I bet we haven't seen those contracts. And you know what? Fuck, we're never going to get these. I bet that there would be language, for instance, in those contracts saying that as part of these commercials, you cannot endorse a specific company, you cannot endorse a specific candidate, that it would have boilerplate language around what they're allowed to endorse in the ad so that they don't run into those issues of looking like they're doing a funnel to a campaign. Guaranteed. I bet if we look at every single content creator who did any of those AI ads, none of them probably point to like a specific, I don't know about companies. Maybe it wouldn't be as much trouble. Definitely nothing, not like a political candidate or any kind of like political action committee or whatever.
Is that I've written about all these campaigns. I've never seen this language in a contract before. I'm not familiar with any sort of booking systems that other people use. I would be very surprised. I talk to content creators that take part in a lot of these sort of campaigns. This is not standard from what I've seen. I'm sorry. Well, I know that it's...
Pisco's silence is deafening. A lawyer who. Well, so Hutch has the accurate reading on Taylor here, that she is a bad faith malicious actor. Guy doesn't give a fuck, which I think is funny. And no shade to him. He likes to follow politics and doesn't get into all this like murky, dramatic, crazy shit. I think the soy pill, I think he's just trying to be a good faith actor here. I don't know if he is like as bought into the idea that Taylor is like this evil, malicious figure that I believe. And I think Hutch believes. So I like that soy pill is here to ask questions. And then Pisco's just here to run defense for Taylor. I think every single time he's brought up anything, it's just to run defense for Taylor. If we're being good faith for Pisco, which he doesn't deserve, then the defense here would be that it would look bad if all three of them were dogpiling on Taylor here, so, which is fair, I guess. But
this
is a new kind of media thing, right? Like it's still pretty novel.
No. Trump is, the right wingers have been doing this. They've been doing this for a while. The right wingers do it all the time.
He should ask for an example. What's one example of a C4 that's funneling money to right wing influencers? I'm curious if there's what answer she would give to that.
And you're well aware that 501c4s can lose their nonprofit status if they do too much electioneering, or if they do like event content like around like political campaigns and things like that. I question why it seems as though you and your team didn't even consider that.
We did talk to other people. I had lawyers look at this contract. I had contract lawyers. Not to mention all the Hollywood agents that were involved in this. Half the influencers that we spoke to have agents and managers at major talent agencies that were involved in this. None of them raised this issue. So
None of them raised this issue? As in, none of them said that the language looked suspicious?
I'm not saying that...
Were you made aware of any actual instance where Chorus requested to take down content from any creator?
No, we didn't find any enforcement action on that.
Kind of weird.
Were you made aware of any creator that had to get express authorization before like setting up a interview with a politician?
We did talk to creators that were told they had to use the Chorus News.
No, but you keep doing this, Taylor. Come on, you're being explicit here.
She does. She's so good at that. She's so good at that.
Sorry,
I'm not talking about people who are afraid of the contract.
But listen, all I can tell you is what my reporting says, and I know you guys want to know that they had to use the Chorus News.
Authorization before like setting up a interview with a politician.
Was anybody prohibited from doing their own interviews?
Politician?
Well, people had to use the newsroom for stuff. They were told they had to use the newsroom. That's not
the
same.
We did talk to creators that were told they had to use the Chorus News.
No, but you keep doing this, Taylor. Come on, you're being explicit
here. I'm just telling you.
I'm not talking about people who are afraid of the contract.
But listen, all I can tell you is what my reporting says, and I know you guys want more. All I can tell you is what my reporting says and what I found and who we spoke to. I'm sorry, I'm not going to keep going around in circles. It is so pointless. None of this is relevant. You don't seem to have this issue with any other article that I've written about this stuff. It's crazy. It's just
the only article of yours that I'm familiar with. I did
like, I'm sorry, was he supposed to come with a binder full of criticisms for every single article you've written? What kind of statement even is that? What does that even mean? What? You don't seem to have this criticism for any other article? Uh-oh. Has he criticized the genocide in Gaza? Does that make him a anti-Taylor because he doesn't have any, or before this, was he pro-Taylor Loren since he didn't criticize any of the other articles? Like, what? It's fucking stupid.
Okay, so then you don't actually know. Like, okay, all right. I'm sorry that, like, I'm trying to explain to you what we found in our reporting.
That's fine. I don't want to press you further. I just want to say that, I do think that you had an agenda with this article. I do think that you had opinions that you put in the article.
You can join the many...
On the right wing! Call it right wing again. You can join the many Nazis, the white nationalists who say the same.
I have agendas on it.
I think the narrative that you were pressing was that the big, bad, corrupt establishment was paying Democratic shills and suppressing leftist voices. I think that
leftist voices. Where's the leftist voices in that? Where does it say leftist? Where are you even getting that from?
Well, the opinions that seem to be censored, like it's Gaza or too pro climate change, too pro, like these are more progressive, more leftist ideas that are as based on what the article is saying.
You guys sound like TikTokers.
But this is what it says in the article. What do you mean?
I mean, I just honestly, can I tell you, this is, I'm sorry to trigger you with the word centrist. This is a mainstream centrist Democrat program. Okay. It's for mainstream centrist Democrats, right? Look at the people that are in it. Overwhelmingly. Brian Tyler Cohen, I would say they're not trying to get radical.
Like, again, and I'm sorry, but like, and I mean, Taylor is like the number one victim of being online too much. If you look at Brian Tyler Cohen and you're like, he's a centrist guy, like, I'm sorry, we're on the internet, bruh. All of these people, I know that it's really hard for a lot of these people to understand this because you spend so much time online. Like, if you were to put me in any room with real people, for me, I would be far left. 100 trillion% I would be far left, right? Rolling back the Trump and fucking Bush era tax cuts, having like any pro-trans position at all, even in a room of Democrats, right? If you throw me in any room full of Democrats, Brian Tyler Cohen is going to be far left. I'm sorry that you're just delusional to say he's a centrist. Also, I don't know what the fuck centrist Democrat means. That's such a pointless amalgamation of terms. Centrist Democrat. I don't know what the fuck that term even means. It's a crazy, stupid fucking... Like, if I was looking between, like, Nebraska and California, and I were to say, like, he's halfway between Nebraska and California in Nevada, I don't know what the fuck that sentence even means. He's halfway between Nebraska and Florida in Iowa. I don't even know what the fuck that statement means. He's a centrist Democrat. I don't know what the fuck centrist Democrat means. I don't know what the fuck that's like such a meaningless term politically. Holy shit. I'm saying that. Sorry, hold on. I realize I have to make it clear. I do know what it means. Centrist is a slur. They were correct when they said that. Centrist is a slur that they use to demean Democrats that they feel like don't have an extreme enough position or the correct position on Gaza. That's what that actually means. Centrist is just a slur to attack Democrats. In the same way that I guess conservatives used centrist as the opposite of a slur, a compliment for right-wing fucking centrists.
Anarchists for this program. Do you think they are?
I think most reasonable people...
Like she said before that like Tim Pool likes to be prescribed as a progressive on some issues, not a centrist. I bet Tim Pool has spent most of his time saying, I'm not right-wing, I'm centrist. Fuck, what's the name of that one website actually? What's the website that lets you search through all the YouTube logs or whatever? Channel. Tim Pool. 1.5 million subs. Centrist. I'm human! Click on the empty spots where foods are missing. Here and here? What the fuck? Here and here? Oh, hold on. I'm a pro at this. I got this. Okay. Continue.
Centrist show.
Right.
Perfectly centrist. In the certain moral orthodoxies, which now is the left. It explains it. The fear of being an apostate is remarkable. So here's we're talking about a little bit before the show. I think Timcast is a perfectly centrist show.
Right.
Perfectly centrist. In the people we have on, in the opinions of the principal individuals of it. Conservatives would disagree and agree at the same time. They'd probably say, well, you're fairly liberal, Tim, but I see what you're saying. The left would say, absolutely not, you're a right-winger.
Absolutely. I bet Constantine calls himself centrist as well. He does, right? Where else does he call himself? December? Oh, holy shit. Wait, that was a long time ago. Wait, what the fuck? 2023. Is this sorted by date? No, not necessarily. Whatever. I found my example.
People, when they look at Brian Tyler Cohen, I don't think they would call him a centrist. I think they would call him a partisan Democrat.
Okay, a Democrat. This is a program by a notorious pro-Democrat group running a program to increase the Democrats.
What does that mean?
Notorious? Wait, I thought she said earlier that she wasn't normatively loading anything. Wait, where did Notorious come from?
Notorious.
Well, 1630 fund is pretty notorious. It's a pretty big.
Notorious?
Big deal. I mean, it's a
We're
huge.
talking about 1630. We're talking, of course.
Big deal? Excuse me. Big deal does not mean notorious. Notorious, by the way, means bad. Bad.
1630, which is the funder behind all of it, right? 1630 is a notorious dark money group. It is literally the liberal answer to the Koch network. I mean, it's very well known. They do a lot of work in the Democrat space.
Listen, that's a separate conversation about like, about like should Democrats do any kind of dark money stuff while this is the letter of the law because of Citizens United?
Sure.
Like,
who cares? But we can debate it. But I'm just saying, like, you guys have this thing, like I have to say, it really annoys me, I guess, because like, I think.
Yeah, why?
And I think it's very revealing that you don't engage with most of my work.
Wait a second. I don't need to familiarize myself with your entire body of work.
What is this? What?
To critique this article, Taylor.
Well, I think that the fact that you have only engaged with my work through tweets and through this article has given you a view of things that I would argue is
Taylor, you can't throw that at me. I like your pro privacy or anti privacy law or pro privacy laws. I like your anti
okay, but like this is
crazy
stuff,
that so, like, I have the same beef.
But Taylor, I saw you making claims about these people. You said that out of the 90 creators, they're primarily pro-Israel.
The ones that we found.
That's a pretty big claim, but you couldn't name anybody. That's
well, I'm not going to put them out. I'm not going to. We didn't name the majority of content creators that we found in the program. We didn't.
Excuse me. You had no problem running down a whole ass list of names right here. What the fuck are you talking about? Influencers included in communication about the program: Olivia, Juliana, Lauren, Peretra, Barrett, Adair, Suzanne Lambert, Ariel Fodor, Sander Jennings, David Packman, Leigh McGowan. I think she even names people that she like had a fight with in the past over something, where she drops their full names again. Like, it's very hit piece. Hit PC. Fuck. Where was this in the article? Oh, I know it was. I know she had their names in here. Six creators in the program showed a collaborative video running through political wins. Follow these creators, bringing you hope instead of doom scrolling. Tag, link to post. Based. People who are pictured on the web. Oh, no, wait, that's a different thing. Fuck. Several influencers who doggedly defended Chorus throughout that controversy. Like, this is a past controversy. Several people who defended them through a past controversy, including Elizabeth Booker Houston, a Democratic comedian and content creator on Instagram, and Allie O'Brien, a progressive content creator with more than 600,000 followers on TikTok, whose social security number is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They were involved in membership talks for the highest paid tier in Chorus's new creator incubator program. Neither responded. They weren't even in it. They were involved in membership talks. How the fuck do you even know that? Like, this is just wild. And now she's like, well, I don't want to name anybody who's blah, blah, blah.
Anybody. That's
well, I'm not going to put them out. I'm not going to. We didn't name the majority of content creators that we found in the program. We didn't name.
Of the ones that you named in the article, you couldn't name a single one that was pro-Israel.
Yep.
I know that's now who's twisting words. I said you'll have to go through and ask. I don't even remember which creators we named in the article, but you can go through and the ones we did, and you can ask them their stance on Israel.
No, but this is your words. You said that they were primarily pro-Israel, and of all the people you named in the article, you can't give me one. That's bizarre.
Okay, go ask them. Go ask them then. Go ask them. I don't know what to tell you.
I'm asking you. You did reporting on them.
It doesn't say anything about Israel in the article. I don't know what to tell you.
That was your commentary.
He's referring to your tweet on the 27th.
Yeah, and that's my tweet, and I'm not gonna list out the influencers that are not even named in our piece in a tweet. I'm giving commentary on my article. You can read the article all you want. I don't know what to tell you. You guys seem. It's crazy to me. What is so crazy to me about all of this is that for whatever reason, this like random these random people like you, this Destiny person, it's like they are like.
What? No, where's the meme? Why the fuck did my name come up here?
they have all these issues with the article that like the 1630 fund doesn't have any issues with it. Even the chorus lawyers like don't
I'm
have
not asking about
issues.
anybody else. I'm just reading.
But it's just, but I understand. And I do my best. I really try to be an open book, and I really do. Like I go out of my way to engage with people like you that have questions. But at a certain point,
I felt like I asked you good questions, and you got very evasive and frustrated with me.
I would completely disagree with that characterization. I do not think that you're coming in good faith. I think that you have a clear view of it.
I read that a lot. I looked into a lot of this stuff. I spent a lot of time on this. I didn't want to take it out of context.
I think you probably have gone down a lot of wild goose chases on something that's pretty straightforward.
Do you think
Imagine if every interview with Taylor Lorenz actually looked like this, where there were people that, and by the way, Hutch is a random fucking YouTuber guy, right? I'm a random fucking YouTuber guy. We're not trained in any of this. Imagine if every interview with her was actually pressing on these issues like this. And this is like bare bones level pushing. We didn't even really, like, I don't even know if I would characterize this as a super tough, kind of tough. But she couldn't answer basic level questions because her article is generally just a giant fucking lie. It's a hit piece. It's a hit piece with a ton of lies in it. But somebody like this should not be able to survive the interview circuit. Like, she should never be able to show her face publicly on an interview circuit because she knows she's going to get fucking destroyed by the slightest bit of critical pushback on her article. But somehow people like this thrive in our current atmosphere. It's unacceptable. And our democracy cannot survive it. It can't.
Influencers that use this, do you think that like left-wing commentators that use this article to push a narrative that these creators were being paid to be quiet about Israel, do you think that they were being irresponsible?
I have said from the jump that Israel was never a qualification that we
I'm asking
found.
Do you think that it was irresponsible of them to do that?
Well, as I just said, I'm answering you, and I'm sorry. I know you keep wanting me to say
she won't answer
a specific string of words, and I'm just answering you.
I think it's a fair question because a lot of people that you're friendly with did push that narrative that they were being paid to be quiet about genocide, which I think is a really disgusting accusation.
What I would say is that is that we don't know the ideological makeup, and I said this publicly since the article went up. We don't know the true ideological makeup of the entire cohort because
why'd you say they're primarily centrist?
Those are the people that we
remember right now. For her group of enemies, I don't know what they said. People were attacking him. I don't give a fuck. I don't know. Why the fuck should I give a fuck? It's not my responsibility. You want me to say a specific string of words? For the other article that Hutch mentioned, when you said these people were lightly criticizing the Biden administration, weren't they being really harsh on the Gaza? Actually, he was blacklisted in 2023, and I've actually read every single tweet that this ever put up. And actually, prior to 2023, the only criticism he ever made was a light criticism related to green energy policy, and actually hadn't said anything about Gaza until 2024. The late. It is like, okay, so you've memorized this person's entire fucking timeline. You can defend this person to the death.
We found, and as I have said from the beginning,
90 people.
Oh my God. Again, if the ideological makeup of this program is different, this is an argument for why they should be transparent. Because right now, the people that we found do share certain ideology. They do share certain belief systems. And if they're
2? 5? How many did you find? How many?
There's this secret group of leftists or further to the right people or other libertarians or who knows what that is also being funded by this program, then I think it would behoove them to publish the roster because now...
But until that comes out, Taylor, is it irresponsible for influencers to cast aspersions and just assume that
influencers should be arguing for transparency and say until
that's not what they're doing. So would it be irresponsible for them to just make these conclusions?
I think there's so much irresponsible stuff on TikTok, and I'm not going to litigate every single thing, but yes, of course they're being irresponsible. Of course there's people being irresponsible. However, that doesn't mean that I think that they're making baseless conclusions based on the very small amount of sort of view that they have into it. I'm sympathetic to the people that run the program if they say, well, this is not representative. I would say this is an argument for transparency, right? If you have this whole other class of content creators that are part of your program that have radically different beliefs than the content creators that were made public, then why can they still not come forward? Why can they still not publish their contract? Why can they still not speak out? Why are you still not publishing the roster?
You would have to ask them, but the merits of your reporting are your own, and you're accountable for the things that you say. And when you say, you look at a list of 90 people and they're primarily centrist, and then 2 seconds ago you say, we don't really know the ideological leanings.
We do. No, first of all, the section of creators that we saw, they're pro-Democrat. They're pro, and I would call that centrist. Now there are also
just pro-Democrat.
Really?
Well. Establishment, they're pro-establishment Democrat. We're not talking about radicals. You're talking about the radical.
What does that mean?
What I mean is that the leftist anarchist people on TikTok don't seem to be part of this program. I haven't seen any of
leftist anarchists. It's not even on the liberal axis of politics. What the fuck are you talking about?
Those people a part of this program. I haven't seen those people connected to this program.
But not being radically left is not the same thing as being centrist, Taylor.
Right. I understand that, but
You're
saying
conflating them.
Okay, what label to make you happy so I don't trigger you with the wrong word? What
something reasonable?
No, okay.
Wait. This is the stupidest fucking point of all time. Like the Democratic Party is a center left party, and we embrace that, right? This show's called Live and Learn.
Do you think Brian Tyler Cohen is a
wait, Hutch.
Yes, and I know it's because Pisco doesn't know anything about like politics, domestically or internationally. The Democratic Party is our left party. The Republican Party is our right party. I don't know why you would describe a political party as with an adjective, center left or two, or center right. Like, it's left and right. This is like you're floating towards a rock in space, and you're trying to draw the distinction on whether or not the rock is coming at you or you're drifting towards the rock. It doesn't. You have two parties. You have a left party and you have a right party. Why the fuck would you call them center left? The reason why is, especially because of the circles that this guy runs in, you call it center left because you're trying to disparage the Democratic Party. They're not. They don't stand for left-wing values. In Europe, Bernie Sanders would be a fucking Nazi in Europe. Bernie Sanders wouldn't even be considered center left in Europe. That's why they call it that. But would he call the Republican Party a center right party?
The Democratic Party is a center left party, and we embrace that, right? The show's called Live and Learn.
Do you think Brian Tyler Cohen is a
wait, Hutch. Democratic Party. Hutch, real quick. Hutch. The Democratic Party is a center left party. Is that correct?
Is Brian Tyler Cohen a centrist?
Wait, Hutch. Can you answer one question?
No.
Answer one question.
You answer mine.
Answer one question. Is the Democratic Party center left?
Answer mine. Is Brian Tyler Cohen a centrist?
All right. Hutch,
I'm center left. You're center left. We're
centrist. Question.
Okay.
Hutch, what is the right word?
Hutch, wait. Answer the question. Hutch, is the Democratic Party?
Hutch. Nobody on this show, in the totality of American politics, nobody on this show is center left. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Hutch,
you were using centrist as a pejorative, and you know that's what you were doing.
That's different. Hutch, is the Democratic Party a center left party?
Yes, broadly, yes.
Okay, so if what is meant by centrist, right? It's a stupid fucking point. If what is all is meant by centrist is you're aligned with the Democratic Party, then this is all analytical, right? By definition, being aligned with the Democratic Party on your own view.
When you think of the word centrist,
you would have to show in any given case that the use of centrist is more specific, and that you're trying to call out something, and maybe that is actually what Taylor is doing when she's using centrist. Stop. Wait.
Pisco is correct, but the swipe pill already did this. He's just running defense for Taylor for whatever fucking reason. The swipe pill already did this. He went through her Twitter account, and actually, Pisco could challenge Taylor here and go like, Taylor, have you ever used centrist in a way that wasn't like immediately demeaning or derogatory or pejorative towards some group of people? And if Taylor's like, yeah, look, a ton of times I say like, oh, these centrist guys made a lot of progress here. These centrist guys did a lot of good stuff here. These like, yeah. And then that would strongly support her argument. Now, Hutch could still argue it's fine that you don't use it as a pejorative, but in our online political climate, the one that you exist in, it seems to be understood as a pejorative. But he's not going to do that.
Wait. You can't be complaining about interruptions when you're interrupting everyone all over the place. All right. So in any given context, I think it's on you to just like to decipher what the intent is behind using the centrist label. But the Democratic Party is a center left party. You can't be complaining about interruptions when you're interrupting everyone all over the place. All right. So in any given context, I think it's on you to just like to decipher what the intent is behind using the centrist label.
That's sorry. I don't even know what he means by saying that. I'm not even going to call that out. That's it. We use words to communicate with each other, okay? There's no such thing as private words that just mean things uniquely to us, or that you could interpret any piece of writing however you want, and it's up to you the entire time, especially when you're writing about anything. I'm not going to say especially. When you're writing about anything, okay? You're trying to convey meaningful ideas to people. Well, everything you write should be meaningful. It should have a meaning to the word. There's no world where, well, it's up to you to figure out what you think left means. It's up to you to figure out what you think right means. It's up to you to figure out. In political writings, what would be the point of reading or writing anything if it was always up to the reader to do their own personal interpretation of what they think a thing means? Like, it's.
But the Democratic Party is a center-left party.
Lawyers have a perverted understanding of language. Literally, I super disagree with that. They should have an incredibly specific understanding of how language is used, because it'll show up over and over again in documents. Some people will say this thing where lawyers have a bad understanding of language. Wrong. Bad lawyers have a bad understanding of language. The exact same types of words are going to show up over and over and over again. It's true in contracts. It's true in legal writings and cases. You'll see the same words and phrases over and over and over again.
to decipher what the intent is behind using the centrist label. But the Democratic Party is a center-left party. You can't be complaining about interruptions and you're interrupting everyone all over the place, all right? So in any given context, I think it's on you to just to decipher what the intent is behind using the centrist label. But the Democratic Party is a center-left party.
They did determine the intent, though, and they gave arguments for it, and she didn't refute any of those.
Using the word centrist because the people that she was trying to appeal to with that article, and I think it's obvious who she was trying to appeal to, used that word in a disparaging way, similarly to how they use the word liberal in a disparaging way. You know that Taylor uses
Would you guys not describe liberal? Do you guys not describe liberal? Do you not describe yourself as
liberal is appropriate. That's an appropriate label.
Okay, so
liberals are center-left, correct?
So let's...
That's such a broad word. It depends on where you see it, right? Liberal technically encompasses, well, I don't know if it does anymore for the right, but if we go back 10 years, liberal encompasses 95% of politics in the United States. We're a liberal country, right? Lowercase l, liberalism. The Republican Party was a liberal party. The Democratic Party is a liberal party. Now you can argue the Republican Party is some other fuck shit. But like, depending on the context you're in, like if I go to an online debate and somebody calls me a fucking liberal, well, if I'm arguing with a MAGA person, that's an insult. But they mean it to mean I'm part of the Democratic Party. That's all they mean when they say liberal. If I'm arguing with Hassan, they're using liberal as a slur to say that I'm Nazi, basically, a far-right person. Oh, you're a liberal. He's a right. He's not a part of the left. He's not a leftist thing like we are, like the socialists are. So that really depends.
Let's call them liberals. No, well, that will make you happy.
You can have progressive liberals too, right? I mean, I like when I look at Brian Tyler Cohen's his overall priorities and his
liberal. Is he liberal?
I would call him a progressive liberal. Very confidently.
A liberal. Okay, we will use the word liberal, and that will make you happy.
Well, I wish you would have used that in the article instead of saying centrist, because you know that you were using that as a pejorative.
Honestly, you have to call up some copy editor and say that to them. But if she had wanted a correction, she could have gotten a correction. But my point is,
beside the point, though.
It is not beside the point. She could have actually, if that was such a radical mischaracterization of
the onus is not on her to correct, especially when you're so well known for like signaling so much fucking harassment and everything else. The onus is not on the person being written about to go in and correct it. We're all not going to fight over every single lie that's published about us like you fight over keeping your age concealed on your fucking Wikipedia.
Her views. She could have reached out and gotten a correction. I would argue it's not a radical mischaracterization of her views.
Is it a false statement? Right? Is it a false statement to call her centrist? I think that's the question. Is it inaccurate, Hutch? Is it an inaccurate statement in the article?
Yes, I think it is. Yes.
To call Olivia Juliana centrist.
It doesn't matter whether or not it's accurate. What matters is it is clear.
Both parts matter. The accuracy and the intent are both important here. And you can be wrong on one or the other, but like for instance, she could have just been inaccurate and she could have said she's a democratic socialist, and she's actually she would say, I'm not a democratic socialist, I'm like a progressive liberal, I would say, right? And then you could say, oh, well, she was wrong, the fact was wrong, but the intent was she was trying her best to get it right. She wasn't trying to demean her or anything, right? Or she could be right about the fact and still trying to demean her in the language. She is a centrist, right? And maybe she does consider herself a centrist, right? But she's saying that to demean her, to call her out on it, right? But that's fine. She could be mean and accurate at the same time. But arguably, the worst combination of things is she could be inaccurate and mean. That's even worse than just fucking up and being inaccurate, because you're labeling somebody something for the purposes of not perjuring them, of using a pejorative against them, of attacking them, of demeaning them. You're trying to attack them with a word, and it's not even accurate. That's like the worst of all worlds. So this fixation on just the factual accuracy is not enough. You should focus on the accuracy and the intent behind using the word.
Why can't accuracy absolutely like no, what is so hard about doing
please listen to me for real quick, because you keep doing this. It's not about the accuracy, whether or not this person is a centrist. If everyone in a certain ideological camp calls these people centrist, it is clear that this is coming from a specific ideological perspective and not just this is objective reporting.
I just don't think that the Wired articles,
is it relevant?
The Wired editors are like out to get someone. We're literally just trying to describe now. I will use the word liberal. I will use the word liberal, and when I write about these people again, I will use the word liberal. I can promise you that. So
well, I think you were.
I'd like to respond to Soy Pill. Yeah. It's the potted plant's turn to talk. All right. So real quick on your point, Soy Pill, you say, well, in certain circles, this term can mean something else. I'm totally open to us having that discussion, but I think it's relevant to discuss whether the article is accurate first. That's a relevant thing to consider first.
And then we can say, okay, some people might accurately describe her as a centrist, depending on your ideological point of view, and we can use this to frame what kind of ideology.
To the extent that it's accurate, to the extent that it's accurate, it's trivial to observe that most content creators are centrist, because if all you mean by centrist is democratic aligned, then of course it's going to be
right. And then you can use that to say, well, who's calling all pro-Democrats centrist, and what kind of ideology is that?
most Democrats are liberals, are they not? Are they not liberal? Is the Democrat not the liberal party, guys?
Liberal.
She's not even. It's just meaningless drivel. It's so cringe.
We're not talking about the term liberal.
And it's pathetic. It's pathetic, honestly.
But you said, but we're talking. Okay, centrist.
You use that term. You use that term. It wasn't your editor in your tweet. You said you use that term.
Sure, I use the term centrist all the time. I use the term centrist all the time. But I'm saying
in a pejorative way. Anyone can search your Twitter feed and see when you use the term. You could also say I use the term
and you can search my Twitter feed for the term leftist. See what I have to say about the term leftist on my Twitter feed, and see if I'm being really nice about it.
I will after this. I will. I'm
please go do it right away. You'll see why.
I think you use that language for a particular.
I would be curious how she uses it in articles. It wouldn't surprise me if she uses leftist when she's referring to people that she's mad at, but I wonder if she's using leftist in a pejorative way, or if she's just saying, this person is a leftist, but they have a right-wing view on AI tech regulation or some bullshit or whatever. I'm curious. Somebody look it up.
Particular reason.
No, I use language. I am criticizing different political factions constantly, and you'll see. Please search the word leftist and see what I have to say about the leftists. Please search this word.
Okay, you're establishing a cast of heroes and villains. That's what you're doing. Oh my God.
Okay, literally, yep. I'm sorry. I know you think that I have this
literally.
This is I feel it does remind me of the Tim Pool universe in a sense, because I have to say, it's like this niche obsession with.
Yes, because the case does nothing to affect the business models of these companies, but it sets a legal precedent for mass surveillance, something you should be against if you're a leftist. What can I say? I know everything that is inside of her head. Wait, well, let me read more. We're never getting a leftist revolution when people like you side with the Nazis on eradicating. You are not a leftist. See, she's gatekeeping and protecting the term. What did I say right before this? What did I say? She is criticizing people who are leftists, but she's not using leftist as a pejorative. She's criticizing them for not having the correct position, even though they call themselves a leftist. She's protecting the term because that's what she either identifies with or considers herself friendly to. How dare Taylor Loren stand with immigrants, LGBT groups, reproductive justice advocates, marginalized people, and everyone who will be harmed by the mass surveillance / censorship laws the social media addiction trials usher in. I am a serious leftist. I stand with the Heritage Foundation, making fun of a leftist who's not on the right positions. Cuba does not have sterilizing vaccines, and vaccines don't make COVID harmless. This COVID shit, she's fucking brain broken on. When some MAGA events have better airborne disease prevention than leftist aid convoys, that should make you look in the mirror and consider how badly you lost the plot. Again, so she's attacking people here who she feels like aren't adhering to the standards that she believes that leftists should be. This is not the same type of way of using the term leftist as she was for centrist. Oh, look at these fucking centrists. Look at what they're doing.
It's you're secretly our enemy, and you're secretly our enemy.
I don't think you're secret about it. I don't think you're secret. No, I think you have open. Yeah, you have open sort of hostility towards.
Crazy, but so do the Republicans.
I don't know. I think you've displayed in the past open hostility towards people that you consider to be the establishment or centrist or pro-Israel. But then when I press you on what these terms mean, you don't really have great answers.
Leftists, and look at what I have to say about the right, and look at what I have to say about literally look at all my political. I know that you don't want to engage with other stuff, and I know you feel that you're I've been very critical about your ideology, but if you think that's because,
I'm not offended by that. I don't care about. I'm talking about your.
But you clearly think that because I'm critical of your ideology, that then I sort of ascribe to this other ideology that you really don't like.
I don't know if this is about ideology. I have no idea. I really no, but I don't know. I don't know what motivates you, but I do know that in the context of this article,
we'll never know what motivates her because she doesn't report her funding sources. By the way.
You were establishing a cast of villains, and in this case, you had these pro-Israel centrist.
It doesn't say anything about Israel in our article. They're just pro. They are pro.
You added that commentary after the fact, and then other creators used your commentary to push a narrative about them being paid to cover for genocide.
Well, the Democratic Party, I would argue, has run cover for a genocide. Isn't that kind of why they lost part of it?
That's a separate thing. They're smearing the entire operation as being about covering for genocide. This includes people like Brian Tyler Cohen and David Pacman and Olivia Giuliana.
Well,
they were.
Those first two people? I'm just saying. Look at that. Look at her face. Look at her face when he led with those two people.
Covering for genocide. This includes people like Brian Tyler Cohen and David Pacman and Olivia Giuliana. Well, they were, Hassan himself has made this claim.
Hassan was not even remotely part of this program.
Whoa, hold up. Are you besmirching my dog electrocutor boyfriend? Excuse me.
But you mentioned him. You mentioned him in this article. You mentioned him in the old article. You mentioned him in this tweet.
The fucking Joe Rogan of the left or whatever.
No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't.
No, but you're presenting the virtuous alternative to the corrupt Democratic shills. That's what you're doing in this whole thing.
I don't think Hassan is taking dark money.
But
so you're agreeing with Hutch. You're agreeing with him. Also, Hassan does do gaming sponsorships, and he has gotten paid by other countries and taken payments to do stuff. I think he mentioned openly for the Cuba stuff. I know he did for the China stuff, even if he refuses it. 100 billion%. Didn't he get paid to go do a speech thing in, was it Dubai? So, I mean, we don't know how much he got paid for that, right? Or is it Qatar? I don't remember. Qatar.
But are you rejecting that's what you're doing? Like, that is what you're doing, right? Like, you're saying you have these like radical leftists and they're pure and they're not corrupt. And then you have the corrupt pro-DNC, pro-Israel shills, right?
Please search my Twitter feed and see what I've said about the leftists. I feel like I'm losing my mind.
I did search it, Taylor, and you have been shitting on him quite a bit.
I constantly criticize people all over the place.
I don't think Soipa will understand the distinction here. It is a very fine one, but like there is a huge difference, right? I don't necessarily blame maybe the Soipa for not getting this, but there is a distinction, but it's important, but it can be hard to.
Political ideology. I very intentionally don't identify with one political faction over the other or whatever. And again, I know that pisses everybody off in that political faction. But what I'm saying is that if you think that this is some bad faith like article that's meant to like valorize the left and like criticize that's just not what the article says.
Is this a Taylor Lorenz article? In 2025, the UK censorship catastrophe is just the beginning. Both the Democrats and the Republicans are completely aligned on ramming age verification through Congress and removing all free speech and the right to anonymity on the web. Leftists have completely dropped the ball, and there is no meaningful political opposition to these efforts in the U.S. from either party. So why wouldn't you say conservatives have dropped the ball? Or the far right has dropped the ball? Or like she's protecting the term when she brings it up.
Says, and I understand that my commentary
the article did say that they're not allowed to disclose their relationship with Chorus.
Yes,
how do you
that's
explain
true.
that? No, it's not though. It's not. We know that's not true.
Wait, sorry, they aren't allowed.
Why is it untrue? Wait.
Why do you think?
It's describing the content.
Why do you think I'm saying that piece?
So I understand. Listen, I have my issues. I want to bring up my issues with.
Why do you think I'm saying that?
Wait, hang on. I will definitely address that. I will definitely address that. I will definitely address that. Hutch, I will definitely address. So I want to be clear. I have my own problems with the article. It has to do actually with contractual language in the title. But I mean, at this point, it's been done to death.
I didn't write the title. I didn't write the title. Don't come for me.
The title wrong.
The contractual. The article. Are you asking me or asking Taylor?
I'm asking Taylor. Is the subheading wrong then?
But you can ask her.
That's so important. That's so important. The subheading.
It's not actually wrong.
Well, you just said you didn't write it. So
yeah.
Why defend it?
I mean,
journalists don't write their titles.
But you have influence on the byline on the subheading, right? You can't request. Did you request to change the subheading? Wait, hang on.
No, it's factually correct. Why would I do that?
Hang on.
You absolutely, I know for a fact that you can suggest a title, you can suggest secondary titles. I think that this is going to be one of the areas, just from the little I know, but Taylor lies about everything. This is going to be one of the areas where the people above you, your master, your whatever editors, all these people will have more push than not, where they could say like, I'm sorry, but like, we're going with this title, okay? Or we're going with this secondary, like subtitle, whatever. Like, that's probably true. This is probably the most, this is probably the area where they'll have the most input, and Taylor might not have had much, but she still defends the title, so what does it matter?
Journalists can't request that a subheading is changed?
I would never do that unless it was factually wrong. It's not factually.
Okay, then you own it.
Wrong.
This is absolutely factually wrong, though. I mean, like in your subheading, you say that online influencers were paid up to $8,000 a month to push the party line.
Yeah, but that's how the decks. Sorry, the decks in the marketing decks describe Chorus.
The marketing decks. We're talking about a realistic claim.
Right, we're talking about
you're saying that they were getting paid $8,000 to push the party line, and there's no deliverables.
The whole point of the program was to fix the Democratic Party's messaging problem. That's the whole point of the program.
But you're saying paid X to do Y. That's a consideration for some sort of thing in the other end of it. And I did have a criticism about that, but I wanted to address what was just said about the characterization regarding the disclosure. The article states that the language of the contract forbids disclosure, and I don't have any reason to believe that's untrue.
Yeah, there were at what particular quote are you pointing to here? Do you have the quote in front of you?
I don't have it in front of me, but I know it's characterizing
the contract viewed by Wired that creators signed. The influencers are not allowed to disclose their relationship with Chorus or.
But wasn't there an issue where? Fuck, I don't remember. I don't remember this good news in politics. Oh, please let me see this. Why can't I go there? This might not have had Chorus listed in it. I don't remember if it did or not. And there's no fast forward. Okay. When are you going to disclose the dark money funding? Ooh. Her using liberal centrist as a slur to defend Hassan.
Unsubstantiated claims as part of an effort to smear one of the most vocal leftists online is deeply disturbing. But that's what these centrist liberal influencers do, and that's why they're so dangerous. Just as with the original Gamergate over a decade.
For the 1630 fund, but that's not true.
Are you disputing the accuracy of that? And
yes,
why is it? Why do you think it's untrue?
Because there's two different things going on here. There's the qualifier, like according to the contract, but then she's making a claim. The influencers are not allowed to disclose their relationship
under the contract.
Yes, under the contract. Under the contract. That's all.
Well,
under the
no,
contract.
but I think the qualifier is
very clearly That's very clearly what it's talking about. Is what's allowed under the contract.
Particular quote are you pointing?
Wait.
Yeah, there were at what particular quote are you pointing to here? Do you have the quote in front of you?
I don't have it in front of me, but I know it's characterizing the
contract viewed by Wired that creators signed. The influencers are not allowed to disclose their relationship with Chorus or the 1630 fund, but that's not true.
Are you disputing the accuracy of that? And why is it? Why do you think it's untrue?
Because there's two different things going on here. There's the qualifier, like according to the contract, but then she's making a claim. The influencers are not allowed to disclose their relationship
under the contract.
with Chorus.
Yes, under the contract. Under the contract. That's all.
Well,
under the
no,
contract.
but I think the qualifier is
very clearly That's very clearly what it's talking about. Is what's allowed under the contract. Do you have any basis to believe that's untrue?
But why wouldn't you verify that was being enforced?
Wait.
That's why they came to talk to us. That's why we have the article.
But Taylor,
so they're probably in breach. Hutch, the answer is they're probably in breach. The answer is they're probably in breach.
I don't know what is in the contract versus what they enforce.
But the question, Hutch, the question stands. Do you have a basis? Hutch, the question stands. Do you have a basis to believe that that's untrue? Yes or no?
The framing of this, I find.
Do you have a basis to believe the statement is untrue?
The framing is dishonest. Do you even disagree with me?
Is the statement true or not? No, I think the other part of the contract.
I am curious what other. Fuck, I don't know if I'm mind fucking myself or not. This language is not great, but maybe it's normal and I'm just loading this negatively because so much of this is like shitty. Like when I hear according to, that to me conveys the feeling of interpretation, right? According to Steven, he said that yo mama's a bitch. But according to Dave, he said yo mama is bussin', all right? According to sounds a bit different than like a factual statement of, right? I think that like according to Wired's legal team who reviewed the contracts maybe, or an interpretation from Wired's legal team, otherwise you would just say copies of the contract viewed by Wired that creators signed stated that the influencers aren't allowed to disclose their relationship with Chorus. I don't know why you would put according to. I feel like that's a weird phrase to put in there, but I'm trying to think if I've ever read that. Yeah, you would just say like the contract states or the contract stipulates. That's a weird, because there's no interpretation there. It just says it. It's yes. That's a yes or no. Yes or no is what I would feel. But.
I do, but it's kind of like in poor taste, kind of like lame to just have a pile on. And I have a different problem with the contractual language having to do with funnel through, and that's been done to death. And I can't even get my point heard on that. But I
don't even know if they kind of did it earlier, but no.
I want to ask you, Hutch, do you have a basis to believe that statement in the article is true? Yes or no?
No, not as it's framed. No.
You think that they were allowed to
so you either have a basis, to believe it's false, or you don't.
No. Hang on. You're not saying, like, you're doing the slippery thing, Taylor.
Just to be clear, the actual answer here, I don't know if Pisco would even accept this. Maybe Hutch will get to this. That is a this is a bombshell claim that needs bombshell evidence. Like, in my mind, this is almost enough that I would sink the whole program and maybe people who were responsible for starting it. If you're telling me, unless you can point to me that it's like it's an industry standard or something like that, it would have to be that. You're telling me that Brian Tyler Cohen and his friend or whatever created a program that recruited influencers, and by the language of the contract, they were not only not allowed to disclose that they were part of Chorus or that this was an incubator program by the 1630 Fund, they couldn't even disclose that they were being paid anything at all. For what work? For what were they doing? What were they a part of? That's a bombshell claim. It's crazy in my mind to have a claim like this, especially with somebody with as little credibility as Taylor Lorenz, to have a claim this monumental and have nothing supporting it. You don't have any enforcement actions. It's a question that Hutch was asking a lot earlier, which is a really good question. Because that's usually, when you're looking at like contract fuck-ups, that's usually where you're going to find out like how fucked is this. Like at least in all the gaming contracts and shit, right? Like this contract had this crazy stipulation. We found that like, 7 creators had this enforcement mechanism when they tried to step outside the bounds of this, when they tried to do this, right? When they tried to do that, they got called in and they got in trouble or whatever. But this has never even been enforced before. It seems to me like it's more likely that your reading is just incorrect than there's this crazy stipulation of the contract that nobody ever acted on.
There's two different things going on here, right? So like, were they allowed to disclose their relationship with Chorus or the 1630 Fund? The 1630 Fund, that is the separate fiscal sponsor. I understand that that's like a separate, like, obviously
no, they were accepting checks from the 1630 Fund.
Right. So
she's being a lying piece of shit there. I don't know how deep Hutch got into this, but my understanding is the 1630 Fund does not pay Chorus at all. They work as a financial sponsor that allows people to donate to the 1630 Fund and then earmark it for Chorus. So kind of similar-ish to maybe like how Act Blue or something would work. Like basically, the 1630 Fund could accept money on behalf of Chorus and then pass it on to Chorus, but the 1630 Fund was not funding Chorus. They were not directly contributing money to Chorus of like their own independent funds. She's very, very careful in the way she phrases that here.
I understand that that's like a separate, like, obviously
no, they were accepting checks from the 1630 Fund.
They were accepting checks from the 1630 Fund that were donated to the 1630 Fund for Chorus and earmarked for Chorus like that.
Right. So that's where they were the fiscal sponsor. So they did a lot of like administrative stuff. They got right. So that's where they were the fiscal sponsor. So they did a lot of like administrative stuff. They got
I don't believe they were funded by it. I don't believe the 1630 Fund is established in that way. When I looked up what they were, it says it's an incubator program. They do the administrative work and the overhead and like the money dealing. So like they can accept money on behalf of and then pass it through to them. And they've got the structure and everything set up for that. I don't even know if Taylor even knows what the fuck any of this shit is. Or if she's too busy, running around with a dirty mask on, screaming at people in public or whatever, and claiming she's being assaulted because somebody, touched her cell phone. And I don't know if Pisco has any clue how any of these organizations work either, but
just to believe that language in the article is untrue.
No, so that's one.
Do you have the basis to believe that it's untrue or not?
It's true.
Question. So we do know that in the contract that they were not allowed to disclose that they had like a relationship with 1630. Or
so the answer is it's a true statement in the article.
Pisco, this sentence right here. Tell me if you think this is true. The influencers are not allowed to disclose their relationship with Chorus.
The paid yeah, exactly.
No, not the paid relationship. No.
Yes.
Wait, hold on.
Are not allowed to disclose their relationship with Chorus.
The paid yeah, exactly.
That's a pretty big claim. And there was no proof of this presented in her slop article. And no one has come out publicly and affirmed this. And plenty of other content creators came out and said otherwise. So I don't know how I'm supposed to believe this.
No, not the paid relationship. No,
yes, their relationship was the relationship was.
Say that. You
the relation. It literally says the relation. Did you or functionally that they're paid at all? Did you read? Can you read that sentence again?
I can read it right now. According to copies of the contract viewed by Wired that creators signed, the influencers are not allowed to disclose their relationship with Chorus or the 1630 Fund, or functionally that they're being paid at all. There's like three different.
The object there is relationship.
Exactly.
The first one's Chorus, right? So like you're saying that they are not allowed to disclose the relationship with Chorus.
But the relationship is the object. With is the indirect object, or it's describing what's the thing that can't be disclosed.
No, peaceful. Right? It says the relationship with Chorus or the 1630 Fund. That's what it says.
Yeah, those relationships. There?
Is
that a reasonable reading of it?
But we know, and I'm curious if when you were doing your reporting, Taylor, like, were you aware that creators had been open, that they were a part of Chorus before you wrote the article?
That was my understanding, yeah.
You can see that we actually link to Ken Bensinger's New York Times article, I believe, or reference it in the piece. I literally talked about that multiple times. It's Chorus, the Chorus itself like the sort of broader entity that Brian Tyler Cohen started, was the subject of a New York Times article that was very public. So obviously I know that Chorus was public because I've also written about Chorus before. So
then I don't know how to make sense of the sentence. The influencers are not allowed to disclose their relationship with Chorus or
their relationship with Chorus. Exactly. They couldn't disclose their relationship with Chorus or the 1630 fund or functionally that they were paid at all.
They did though. Many had discussed their relationship.
That's not what but the article described what the contract allows.
Guys,
guys, what?
Let me step in here. We've got 10 minutes left, and I gotta say two things. And Guy's been incredibly quiet, and I think we can pivot this last.
No, why would you interrupt that point? Oh my God, he bailed her out.
Into something that Guy will really want to talk about. So first thing is, Taylor, I don't think Hutch is like a white nationalist, because I think you would take grievance with me saying Joe Biden is a progressive, right? Because even if I could describe every most progressive thing that Joe Biden did, it's very clear that where these people align.
Can I tell you something? Can I tell you something? I know you guys aren't going to believe me on this. There are ways, I talk to people in the Biden world that do argue that Biden was a very progressive president. Biden was a very progressive president in a lot of ways. I actually do think that could be fair to describe him in that way in certain context. Like if I was reading an article and it described him that way in the context of some of the policies that he pushed that were progressive, I would not take issue with that. And I know, like I said before,
Taylor, in your video, like someone should do it. Like Joe Biden's like the great Satan for like his COVID policies, right? Like you really just like, but he's
I would not call him Satan, but I would say that he adopted far-right policies,
genocidal policies on disabled people,
on certain, and I would say Israel and
genocidal.
Yeah.
Well, on Israel and some other things, sure.
Okay, wait, hold on. I was trying not to fight anymore because I know you've.
No, sure.
Also, not to defend or attack. Are we considering genocide as like a far right? Does it have to be really? I don't know. That sounds retarded to me, but whatever. I guess it could be, but I don't know.
I don't fuck with Joe Biden at all. I think I did not like him as president. Do I think he's better than Trump? Yes. Well, but listen, no. But if I was writing an article, for instance. And we're not talking about my YouTube videos or Twitter if I want to pop off and say whatever I want about Joe Biden. But if I'm writing an article and I'm seeking to be factually accurate, and I call someone a liberal or a centrist or progressive, whatever, and that goes through all these other editors, by the way, often who add, sort of their own whatever. We're trying our best.
I've never heard this before. That this was a group article. This was a group project, a group effort. That every single person that got their grimy little hands on your article threw in their own opinion or sentence. I don't believe that. That's a fucking lie. She's lying about that. Which should tell you something, by the way, about the the veracity of the reporting in the article, that she doesn't stand by it because she knows it's fucking slop, junk trash. But now she can just say that whatever sentence is trash, she can just pawn off onto some unknown question mark faced editor or whatever.
I want about Joe Biden. But if I'm writing an article and I'm seeking to be factually accurate, and I call someone a liberal or a centrist or progressive, whatever, and that goes through all these other editors, by the way, often who add, sort of their own whatever. We're trying our best to get things accurate. I'm not going to put like genocidal Joe Biden or whatever in an article that is like a fact-checked investigative article. I wouldn't. I would be like Joe Biden, who has we're trying our best to get things accurate. I'm not going to put like genocidal Joe Biden or whatever in an article that is like a fact-checked investigative article. I wouldn't. I would be like Joe Biden, who has executed XYZ policies or whatever. And with me characterizing Olivia Giuliana as a centrist who spoke at the DNC, Hutch, I know you think that.
Do you see how fucking brain broken she is on this? Like, you just said that you wouldn't put an opinionated thing about Joe Biden. You would just describe the policies. But now you're defending the label of centrist without talking about her positions. You're doing the exact opposite in your two examples, saying it's the same thing.
And with me characterizing Olivia Giuliana as a centrist who spoke at the DNC.
Characterizing implies kind of opinion.
Hutch, I know you think that that's supposed to be some like neg on her or something.
It is.
Clearly, I should have used the term liberal who spoke at the DNC, and maybe that would have triggered you less.
This is abuse, psychological abusive tactics here. That's good. Why did you do this to me? This was so rude or disrespectful. Clearly, I should have done something because you're a fucking snowflake, right?
But it's not. And I'm not saying that I haven't been critical of centrists. What I'm saying is like, I think that's a very silly point to like take with this article, because I think it's not only is it completely irrelevant to the broader topic of the article, but it's like, I think that you're ascribing a lot of motivation to what is ultimately like a pretty meaningless descriptor that I don't even think is very.
I don't think it was meaningless. I think you were telling a larger narrative. Yep. I don't think it was primarily about.
But she's always going to fight the larger narrative. You'll never ever get her to admit any of that, of course.
Disclosure. I think it was about anti-establishment, and then
the people working at Wired, I guess, are too fucking brain in a vat, retarded dipshits to have any understanding of. Dude, I hate politics today. It's all online shit, and none of the mainstream media people have any concept of how demons like this fucking operate in this world. It's so fucking annoying to me.
It's like,
well, they are pro-establishment. We're
gonna go in circles, Guy.
Wow,
you've said this before, and Taylor, I think you might have a very strong opinion on this. there is so much dark money coming in from the right, like unfathomably. 1630 was the answer.
Read my other Wired article that came out on Friday.
By the way, we'll plug this at the end. Your other
Hutch is going to take issue with that. You're gonna be like the.
We'll have you back on another argument. But
we're not anti-AI. We just want to help the AI into. We're not pro AI. We're just backed by Palantir and OpenAI. We're not pro AI.
Who's this guy?
Listen.
That's not even what her article's about. I wonder if maybe she didn't actually write it.
Let me finish. Guy, you've said we need to use dark money to fight dark money. All bets are off at this point. Why not fight fire with fire? What's your take on that essentially? And then Taylor, I want you to respond to like Guy's kind of like overall broad point of fight fire with fire.
Well, we're just getting our ass kicked over on the left with the flooding of dark money. We found out Clavicular is funded by people.
It seems like she has no interest in approaching this conversation cooperatively to find answers together. What? No shit. Yeah, of course.
That's not true. Peter Thiel doesn't like Clavicular. I don't know where that came from. You know he's funded by an Israeli billionaire right now.
Okay.
Oh my fucking God, bro.
Let me ask you a question, Taylor, because
what's up?
That's pretty much the gist of it. It doesn't really go much. Kind of stalls out there.
Yeah,
but
she's one of the best, most slippery, bad faith. She's foreign funded, 1 trillion. I would bet my whole life that her funding, her ops, she's got a whole ass thing. She's the most psychologically manipulative, abusive person I've talked to in my entire career. And I've talked to a lot of crazy people, but she's so good at being so slippery. I hate it.
Well, I mean, thankfully I did an absolute fuckload of prep for this conversation. So I was kind of like nothing really took me off guard during this conversation, but at the end point there, I just feel like, how do you justify writing the language, according to the contract, creators weren't allowed to disclose their relationship with Chorus, but why would you put that in an article if people had already come out to disclose their relationship with Chorus?
Or you would account for it in the story, right? You might say in previous versions, it seems like this was unenforced, or in current versions, it seems like this is new. Yeah, you would have to account for that in some way, right? If I were to write an article right now saying, according to the RNC, Donald Trump is banned from making all public appearances, and he just gave a speech yesterday, I would have to account for that fact. That seems really weird.
It's nonsensical. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. Yeah. Also, I don't know, and I might be biased because I hate this woman with all my heart and soul and mind and spirit, but according to is a really weird, I feel like you would just write, the contract stipulates, or the contract states, according to makes it sound interpretive. And the fact that there's literally no language from the contract, I think there's 7 words or 5 words in a single sentence in this entire article. I don't know why they didn't print any part of it ever, but
it's a moot point entirely because people had already disclosed. And so it just doesn't make it really makes no, it's just, to me, it read as dishonest. I don't know how this passed editorial muster. The more I looked into the story, it was just crazy. The language about being able to take stuff down or having to funnel everything. This was clearly not being enforced in the way that the article suggested. That was debunked thoroughly, within 2 days of the article going up. Just several creators came out. And you've been in the game for a long time, so creators are pretty fucking stupid, right? On average.
Yeah.
And they violate contract stuff all the fucking time. It's a real problem, and it's even more of a problem more often with the bigger creators because they have everybody doing the stuff in the background and they don't really prep them well enough. And so if you put yourself in the mind of a 501c4 that is trying to protect your nonprofit status, of course you would have a clause in the contract to be able to take stuff down. Because
I wish I could remember specifically, but I feel like there are some things that I've worked on before that were politically oriented where I feel like I've seen that boilerplate language before. And the reason is because of exactly what you're saying. It can't look like a funnel. You can't, if you have 10 Chorus creators and they go to work with some candidate and then you find out afterwards, imagine somebody pulls up the FEC filings because that's all public. We know because Hassan doxed every single person that was with a Progressive Victory when he was doing a stream. I think you might have even been included in that. We know that it's all public, the filings for that. And somebody finds out that, 10 of these creators that all did this event with Bernie Sanders all donated $2,000 afterwards. I wonder what they were paid by Chorus to do that. Well, that looks really bad. That's probable cause for a fucking investigation for finding out if you're using your C4 to funnel money illegally to evade campaign contribution limits. That's such a standard. And it's funny because I don't know if you're watching when I was reading this. The quote that she got from a professor was talking about exactly that. When she's quoting this professor, she says, sometimes it is actually clear that influencers are being used to, for example, evade spending limits. Right? That's why that language would exist in the C4's contract to make sure that you're not taking money from Chorus and just throwing it into a political campaign. Yeah.
It would be completely untenable to not have that kind of a provision. Because if you imagine what if a creator uploaded a video and they're interviewing Mamdani, and they open the video with like, "What's up, guys? I'm hanging out here with with Chorus, and I'm talking to Mamdani or whatever." Like just that one little like, I'm here with Chorus or whatever. That could be something that would like qualify as like an in-kind like campaign contribution, or there's all kinds of like potential implications. And let's say they didn't have that clause in the contract where they could take stuff down. And Chorus went to the creator, was like, "What the fuck? You got to take that down. You said the thing." And the creator said, and then the creator just says, "No, I'm not going to take it down." Like then you're just fucked. And so like it's just pretty obvious.
I don't watch much TV.
Compliance.
Yeah, 100%. I don't watch much TV, but I think even in Super PAC commercials, don't they usually have at the end, like, how sometimes you'll see like this ad was paid for by Ted Cruz for America. I think at the end of Super PAC commercials, I don't know if they legally have to have this language, but I think they usually have like the, not paid for by any campaign, blah, 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 or whatever, or only sponsored by whatever. Yeah, like, because people are trying to cover their bases on that, yeah. And like, even if that's not the case, like, why wouldn't you lean into that first, or at least assume that, rather than, because my big issue with this contract is, I'm sure you've been agreeing for how long, you've signed so many contracts. Some of the claims she makes about the contract, like restrictions, are bombastic. These are huge claims that, in my opinion, would require some pretty strong evidence, because some of these sound really oppressive. You have to funnel every single political booking through Chorus. That's crazy restrictive, right?
Well, that's why I asked her, like, did you find any example of this actually being enforced? And her answer was no, which, like, that to me is crazy, because it's like, I just feel like she'd fucking knowingly, I don't want to make any bold claims here.
Like, she knowingly lied about all of this, 100%. This article is slop bullshit. I'm surprised Wired pushed this slop out onto their platform. I can't believe I can't imagine why. I don't know. It's crazy.
It's mind-blowing. Like, if you're going to reference something that's in the contract, that's not enough as a journalist, as far as I'm concerned. Like, you wouldn't just report on something as a contract without verifying that it's enforced, because anybody who's signed a bunch of contracts knows that, like, a lot of that stuff is in there, but it just doesn't get enforced. And so, like, without verifying that it actually happened, and I just felt she was being so slippery too, because I was like, you heard me ask her, like, can you think of a single time? And she said, yes, people got afraid when they saw the contract.
There was a person who didn't sign up with Chorus, who was scared of the language. It's like, okay. And you know what? If that's what you found, that's fine. But then your reporting should reflect that. There was a content creator who didn't sign up with Chorus because in their impression, they might not be allowed to do blah, 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 right? Fine, put that. But don't act like you've had some fucking legal team vet this.
Right. I spent a bit of time watching her kind of go on the circuit, like the podcast circuit, when she was talking about this article. And, depending on the venue, her tone was very different. So like she went on the current affairs one, they're like explicitly, pretty socialist. And it was all about like manufacturing consent, about, they deliberately picked creators that weren't talking about the genocide.
Yeah.
And then she went on a more kind of like, her conversation with Pisco was like very different. Even the conversation with you, she was framing it like, she was framing it about like, it was an article about disclosure. But then when you go to her video on her page, like on her YouTube page, when she's talking about the article when it first dropped, it's all about the, big bad establishment paying corporate or paying DNC shills and suppressing leftists. And she had the same tone. And so like, that's why I asked the question in the beginning, like, what do you think this article was about? And as soon as she said disclosure, I was like, okay, I'm going to fucking nail her on this one right now.
Yeah. And also for like, on background, right? When you're writing like legal briefs, or when a judge is commenting on something, when you like sometimes you'll have like a facts of the case, right? Like this is not random. I think you brought this up, and it wasn't addressed, but it was a good point, right? For years, Democrats have struggled to work with influencers. In 2024, President Joe Biden's White House snubbed several prominent content creators after they lightly criticized the administration over its policies on climate change, COVID, Gaza, and the TikTok ban, right? Like, content creators who challenged Kamala Harris, including Hassan Piker, a well-known influencer on the left, were similarly unwelcome at campaign events. And yeah, like you said, like the implication being, well, now the Democrats found a way around this to pay people who don't challenge them on these points. That's exactly. And this is at the head of this is like at the beginning of the article before they even get into it. So yeah, 100% that's the impression that you're supposed to be left with. Yeah.
But also, the words lightly and challenged are doing a lot of heavy lifting.
They always are in these, for her.
Like Hassan was not just challenging Kamala. He was accusing her of being complicit in a genocide.
Yes.
Lightly criticizing. And then I go to their page and it's like, Joe Biden has killed every fucking Palestinian. Like, it's just like really, whatever, whether or not you want to talk, like debate if that's true, it's completely besides the point. It was not a light criticism, like at any of the examples that she gave.
And there were other creators too, with like the non-committed movement. I think at the DNC, they even spent inside the DNC, which was there to protest the DNC. So, and then he got kicked out of the DNC. So it's it's a joke.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed that interview. I
playing stupid over
wild.
like what is a centrist? Anybody that's a centrist Democrat is anybody who supports a Democrat. Like, and she very clearly like knows when she's using centrist, she uses it as a pejorative. I don't know if you saw me go through her Twitter. When she uses leftist and she's attacking leftists, she's attacking people who aren't like living up to her ideals of being a leftist. She's never saying like, you're a dirty leftist. She's saying like, you're so dirty. You're supposed to be a leftist, right? There's a huge difference between the utilization of the terms there. Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to press her on that because I got interrupted.
Yeah, and she would never own any of that, of course, because it's too, hard to,
No, but I'm about to say what she literally called herself a leftist when she was on the podcast on Doomscroll.
Oh.
There's a part where she kind of loosely references herself as a part of the left, and when they say the left, they mean like socialist, right?
Capital
like,
L left, socialist and communist, not anti-liberals. Yes, yeah, 100%.
Right, and she is slippery, but fuck, I was so prepared for that conversation. I'm so glad I did all that homework too.
I guess, yeah, but it feels like they don't even engage with any of it. So what the fuck is the point? I don't know if you caught this in your reading, but like my understanding is, and the structures of all these things are annoying as fuck. The 1630 fund, I don't believe they actually fund anything. I think they just stand up all the administrative and payment acceptance infrastructure. So like when it says 1630 is like funding Chorus, what that means is that if I want to donate to Chorus, I donate through the 1630 fund, and then it's earmarked for Chorus. Yeah. So
correct.
Yeah. The 1630 is not like this secret dark money fund that's, funneling all this money over to Chorus. They just basically process payments,
Well, so they structure it that way so that the donors can remain anonymous. And
sure.
One of the appeals of dark money is, donors can, use that structure to avoid scrutiny. And it's not great. Like I don't think it's a great system, but it is the system, and Republicans use that system. And the fact is like more donors will donate more money using that kind of structure. And so, they have 1630 as the fiscal sponsors so that the donors can donate anonymously. And then the 1630 funnels that down to the Chorus program.
100%. I hate the reporting standards in all online media journalistic stuff today. I don't think you should be able to take money for an idea. I think like, if you're not like promoting a fucking product or whatever, I don't even know if you should, or if you do, you should have to like disclose the organization is coming from and how much you're paid. I think that's crazy. But like Taylor Lorenz only seems like she fixates on one side of it, number one. And number two, she's making false claims about what the restrictive contracts even are, it seems. And then number three, this motherfucker takes dark money too, okay? The Omidyar shit and all that, as much as you want to call anything dark money, we have no idea. Technically, we don't know how much she was paid. Actually, we do for Omidyar the first year because we know that it was right underneath the required reporting thing, or it might have been right above, I don't remember. But we also don't know what they told her. We don't know what her training was. We don't know what they're directing them to report or what the selection criteria was technically. There's no public requirement to release that information. And we don't know what other types of programs like that she's involved in because there's no requirement for any of them to report it, which is annoying because she never mentions that, and she always defends her take on it by alluding to the fact that she's a journalist who's held to ethical standards. There are no ethical standards for journalism. Journalism is not a protected title in the United States. Your ethical standards are whatever your corporate policy is for the company that you work for or whoever you're writing for as a freelancer. There's no journalistic integrity standards.
Well, so the thing with Pierre Omidyar, he's just like eBay founder who's just got $1 bajillion or whatever. And what's different about him is that he is very transparent, like uncharacteristically for donors. And so, for example, when he donated to 1630 in 2020, and I had a whole line about this, but I didn't want to, we just ran out of time. But like there were 4 donors to 1630 that year. One person donated like $50 million in stock anonymously. I don't even know how that works. One person donated a smaller amount, like 40 million anonymously, and another amount. And then Omidyar donated 45 million, but he disclosed that the next day. And so I don't know. I think we do have a good sense that Omidyar himself is the sole funder of the Omidyar network. But to your point, we are taking them at their word.
Yes. And here's the thing. And if you want to look into this, if I'm wrong on this, I would be welcome to be wrong. These structures are so fucking irritating. But basically, Omidyar is able to get away with saying that he self-funds everything because he has an unpierceable trust that manages a fuck ton of money. That trust we have no insight into, but he takes money from that trust and then he uses that to fund projects. Now, we can say that, well, I mean, technically it is his money and we can see where it's coming from and all of that. So like that is transparency. You could say that maybe, but like, and I'm just giving a hypothetical, it's not necessarily true, but like, what if it was the case that trust had 100% of it, the stocks and assets that it held were all invested in AI, in like NVIDIA and whatever, right? I think that if you knew that, and then you saw him throwing money at certain things, you would look at that money a lot differently. It wouldn't just be like the personal contribution of Omidyar or whatever. You'd be like, this stands something to gain from pushing this stuff. I don't know if it's out of the goodness of his heart.
He does have a public shares in Anthropic. I don't know if that's what you're referring to.
He might, but I'm saying that the trust that everything is funded out of, the Omidyar, I don't remember the exact name of it. I have notes on this. That trust is, you have no idea what's in that trust. Nobody does. You can't. It's not. There's no legal requirements for the reporting on it. And whenever you hear he's donating money, all of it is being pulled from that trust. Like when he says his Omidyar Foundation or whatever is all self-funded, what he means is the money is coming from his trust, but we don't know what's in that trust. You have no fucking idea what assets that trust holds. And that could heavily influence how he's doling out that money. And we might want to know that, you know? But I'm not singling him out. I think there's a lot of issues with reporting in this area. I just don't like the selective focus. Yeah.
That's all that stuff is beyond my capacity. You know more about trust and economics than I do, but there's an interesting aspect to this too, which is like, if you notice in her reporting, she does kind of she's less harsh against 1630 than she is Chorus in the reporting. Like she goes out of her way to mention the fact that 1630 is donated to some really good causes, like, you know, reproductive rights and stuff like that. But, you know, she kind of pulls punches a little bit. You could make an argument that even though like she can, I think, somewhat credibly say that her structure with Omidyar is different from Chorus. I mean, it is functionally different. Even though that's the case, I feel like the readers deserve to know that her main benefactor, you know, donated a very sizable amount of money to a subsidiary of 1630 in 2020. I mean, like, would that influence the way that she talks about 1630? Like, is she pulling punches maybe, you know, intentionally because she knows that Omidyar has that relationship in the past? And, you know, even though he disclosed that money, it's like, well, it's fungible, right? Like he donated $45 million, which,
because knowing any of these structures, I'm sure if you read on this at all, or even like a little bit, it's like it's actual cancer AIDS. Like going through these 990 PFs and all these like fucking and figuring out like the structure of it. Like when somebody says like I think Omidyar Foundation is not a real thing, or like Omidyar Network isn't a real thing. It just refers to like a bunch of different companies, and it's like I don't even know like what is this a real thing, or is it just like a slang for like a trust and something else, or like this entity is actually like a C4 C3 hybrid, and if it's like it's so cancerous navigating all of these, not just on the Omidyar thing, but for any of these structures. Yeah, it's really 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 annoying. And I do agree with you that if you had more transparency here, you might view some of these things differently. So it is annoying to just see one thing get called out. Yeah.
Well, all of it is wildly complex, which is, I think, one of the things that like kind of shields her intentions a little bit. I think the fact that all of this, like, you really have to kind of dig deep into her reporting to figure out all the moving parts, because it is kind of confusing. But I think she took advantage of that complexity to obfuscate what her reporting was really all about. And, you know, that to me just, I don't know. I took it personally when she was, I felt like she wasn't doing enough to push back against, like, Hassan specifically. I mean, like, numerous times on his stream has basically accused the course creators of manufacturing consent for genocide. You know, he used her reporting to do that. And then a lot of other people, the Vanguard, and I think maybe Kalinsky did that. And like that whole space, like, pounced on, you know, like BTC. And Brian Tyler Cohen isn't even taking a fucking salary for this, Destiny.
Yeah.
Like, he's not even getting fucking paid for this. Like, he came on our podcast right after the election and was talking about this problem of, like, we need to aggressively, like, be present in alternative media and on social media, and Democrats need to be better about that. And then what did he do? He fucking actually donated his fucking time, like, without a salary, to, like,
just to get, like, character assassinated and everybody involved with it. Like, also her thing, or go ahead.
Well, and then Hassan, like, on his stream, he was like, I don't know if you saw the clip, but he was like sharing with his chat on his stream his, you know, manipulative plan to get in Brian's good graces. He was like telling his chat, he's like, no, you know, I gotta fix that relationship. Like,
I'm sure
you guys gotta trust me. Yeah. You know, you gotta fucking trust me. Okay. I know what I'm doing. And then, of course, like, I clipped that and sent it to Brian immediately. I was like, just so you know, this guy's being a fucking snake. If he tries to be a friend, you know, just know that he accused you of, like, enabling a genocide before. Yeah.
The whole poisoning the well. I've gotten this talking point from white nationalists a lot. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
Or she's like, Tim Pool wants to be known as a progressive. It's like, oh my God. Yeah, it's just stupid. Like, there's no fact of the matter. Like, the idea that you could self-ID politically right? So like the Nazis were actually socialists, or North Korea really does have like a people's democratic republic. Like what a stupid comment. Yeah.
Well, listen, I'm going to go. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yep. Have fun. Be careful.
Bye-bye.
Because I've heard that you're a big fan of Hassan, and you said that you're critical of everybody, including left. So what is one criticism of Hassan that you have?
Oh, shit. Oh, she's going to say, doesn't talk enough about AI censorship or age ID things or whatever.
Just to dispel this notion that you're in the Hassan camp. Because I've heard this a lot. And I'm just it doesn't sound like it. So I want to give you a chance to say what you've been critical of Hassan for.
I think one thing that Hassan could do better, and I'm sympathetic to, I am on the left, and I actually think Hassan gets a lot of like bad faith attacks, so I'm mostly defending him. I think one thing he could do better is speak about issues on specific policies. I think he focuses a lot on foreign policy. I think he doesn't focus enough on tech policy, on other, policy areas that I think he could do a lot of good in. And I think that he focuses a lot more on sort of these bigger issues that maybe get a lot more attention, and that's his job as a content creator. But I think he kind of ignores a lot of.
That's gonna get clipped. Hassan's gonna not be your friend anymore if you said that really awful mean thing to him.
Well, everything I say, I will say to people's faces as well. And
wow, you would say that to his face, Hassan? I think you could report a little bit more on domestic issues, especially related to the beat that I particularly cover. Wow.
And to your point, by the way, about the dark money stuff, just because Clavicular isn't currently, as far as we can tell, funded by dark money, that doesn't mean that I don't hear your point that Democrats should use, that is a very legitimate argument to have, because Peter Thiel is funding a lot of people on the right.
I have another question too, is like, what does disclosure look like? For example, I did an event with Unfuck America recently, and I told my channel, they paid for my flight. I paid for my hotel, my parking, my food, everything. They paid for my flight. But like I feel like the goalpost keeps moving on disclosure. So what does disclosure look like that is satisfactory to you in your eyes?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, again, I have strict, I'm going to be a lot more sort of disclosure friendly because I'm a journalist, so I have to be more disclosure.
Just to be clear, that's a lie. Every single time she says that, that's a fucking lie. You don't have to disclose anything. There's no rules for journalists to do. That's not true. That's just a fucking lie.
A political influencer, I'm sympathetic to these political influencers that are like, well, it's my job to be like pro-Democrat, I'm a liberal. Some of them do identify as centrist or leftist or whatever.
She identifies as leftist, by the way. She's done so multiple times. It's been like multiple times in chat. I don't know why she's saying that.
Progressives, whatever they want to identify as, right-wing influencers as well, right? Whatever you identify across the political spectrum, there's a bunch of people that they exist to promote a specific ideology, and they're proud of it. And so a lot of them feel like they shouldn't disclose. What I would say is you should still disclose your affiliations. Just say, I'm getting funded by XYZ Group. XYZ Group paid me X, especially if they're paying for specific content. Chorus was not paying for specific content. A lot of them don't pay for specific videos for that reason, because they don't have to disclose as much. Sort of the norms are not there around disclosure. But I would say just try to be as open as you can with your audience.
What a pointless. Imagine wasting so much of your long, long life. Imagine wasting so much of it writing about this, and you don't even have. This is like, she says her beat is tech policy. And your suggestion for how this should change is, well, I think that people should just be as transparent as they possibly can be. What?
And have some sort of,
Would that be satisfactory for me to just go on stream once and say, hey, by the way, they paid for my flight?
Well, I think one thing that I've suggested to content creators is have an ethics, have FAQ. A lot of these influencers have FAQs about themselves on their websites or their link tree or whatever. And it'll just say groups I'm working with, or hey, I take political money. Here's the organizations that have funded me. Or, hey, I you don't have to beat people over the head with it. If you go on a trip and you're making a video from that trip and they paid for your flight, yeah, I think it's completely fine to say hey, they paid for my flight. I don't think you have to say it over and over and over again, although that's great if you want to.
This isn't even a good suggestion. I have stronger positions on disclosure requirements than she does. Why the fuck would I care if some fucking slop streamer disclosed one time on a 90-hour trip that he got paid to go there? That disclosure needs to be way more visible. What a pointless fucking suggestion. How stupid. Jesus.
But I just think I hear you, and I'm not saying that nobody on the left should be using dark money groups. The 1630 Fund does amazing work in a lot of areas. They funded a lot of reproductive justice, health stuff. They do stuff that I ideologically support. So I generally am not going to criticize specific programs that they do unless they're doing that in a sort of a sneaky way. But I think that the system is never going to work out for the left. It's great to use it. I get your point and I take your point. But overwhelmingly, if we want to dismantle money and more transparency is always going to benefit.
I bring it up because the big boys like Hassan make a lot of money. They don't need to take any funding. They don't need any help. And smaller creators, it's how it is. It's tough. And to do this even part-time can be expensive, and it's rare to make money. And so I just think it's in my opinion, it seemed like you were being a little harsh on people who are just trying to get a little help. They're not trying to hide anything. They're just looking for help, and it was offered to them.
And like I said, I have friends.
I think it discourages people from taking that help.
And I don't want to discourage that. I don't. What I want is really for the people.
She does. That's why she was calling out names as a fucking hit list in articles. That's exactly why she does that.
run these programs to be honest about it, because I do think like, listen, this stuff eventually comes out, or like there's inconsistencies. Chorus was paying some creators thousands of dollars, and then people with bigger audiences were getting significantly less money.
Yeah, that's not called an inconsistency. Those are just different terms in different contracts. It's just so crazy how comfortable people are with fucking lying about everything. They're just fucking lying and being just like, I hate it. It's such a waste of time.
And that wasn't always clearly disclosed either. So I just think like that's going to lead to animosity.
Not clearly disclosed that different creators had different terms in their contracts. What a pointless waste of oxygen. I feel like my ears were assaulted just listening to this. Fuck me, dude.
If I didn't break the story, these people were going to go somewhere else, right? It was going to be public. So I think in the interest of transparency, in the interest of just like not also giving the other, like giving critics fuel, why not just be open about it, you know? And say like, I think like, you know what's so crazy to me too, by the way? They knew about this story for a month. Brian Tyler Cohen knew about this story. And so did 1630 Fund. They could have, I've said this so many times before, they could have called up the Washington Post and said, we have an exciting new program to announce where we're funding creators. And we're going to be giving $8,000 a month, and it's really exciting. And we're going to give you, whatever journalist writes about it, access to some of the content creators. And we're going to make it this exciting announcement. Not only would that have taken the wind out of like my story completely, I wouldn't have been able to run my story, but also it would have framed it in such a positive light. Why?
You mean the Bezos Washington Post? I don't think that libs have a great deal of affinity right now for a lot of these mainstream outlets.
Ken Bensinger wrote the original story on Chorus. Ken would have absolutely written a follow-up if Brian Tyler Cohen wanted to announce a program like this with a bunch of big influencer names. There's so many media outlets that would have. Or they could just announce it online. They don't even need to go through media. But I'm just saying, like, instead, they intentionally chose to try to attack the journalist, remain secretive. It's so unproductive.
But what I will say is that various reasons, or they were just, learning experience.
I think it's funny because they're being paid to like shape narratives, and I think this whole experience shows that they're not very good at it. And the reason I point to Courier and some of these other ones that overtly pay progressive, liberal, whatever you want to call it, Democrat creators, like because they do it in the open and there's no controversy around that. Like there's no even somebody like Kat Tenbarge, who's an amazing journalist in her own right, but she's been doing stuff for Courier. There's no controversy. There's no controversy about Ryan Broderick doing stuff for Courier. Like these people just do the content and it's out there and it's open and people generally support it. Fans want to see the content creators that they like supported.
Well, the frustration, I think, and why I think there's more controversy here, and I'll tell you why I was frustrated, is because of the reaction, which I think we all now agree was unfair. The ones that related that there's specific sort of ideological restrictions on what is being said, and some of the notions that it specifically relates to Israel-Palestine. I think that, that the article, there is something newsworthy to the actual article, which is the non-disclosure aspect. I think this all should have been resolved by just disclosing what's going on, but understanding that we're all in a fucking emergency right now. We're all trying to fight a fascist government, and we absolutely need to fund creators and programs like this. And so I was very frustrated.
We should also know, like, with Israel stuff, for instance, like, know the qualifications. Like, they never put out public call-outs for to join Chorus. And I think that's such a mistake. Like, a lot of these other creator programs, especially on the left, I don't know about Unfuck America, but certainly there's a lot of other, like, smaller versions of this, and they'll put out a public call-out, like, hey, we're looking for creators. We want people under the age of 40, or people that appeal to women. We're looking for beauty and lifestyle creators that are that lean progressive, whatever. They'll put out call-outs for creators. And they say, this is what we're evaluating people on. These are the views. We don't care about this. We care about this. Or you're not held to specific, like, content, but there's just no transparency in this program. And with that lack of transparency, you get speculation. And that's why I say to anybody that says, well, most of them are not pro-Israel, most of them are not whatever. Okay, then release the roster so we can accurately, identify, release the qualifications that you're using to judge who gets into the program. Other people put this stuff up online.
But Taylor, if you make that claim, I feel like it's on you to substantiate it. Yeah. When you make the claim that 90% are primarily pro-Israel, I think it's on you.
The ones that we identified. Sure, the ones that we identified.
But as we discovered tonight, your sort of like basis for categorizing people in these ways is, I would say, dubious.
Well, that's your opinion, but I guess we're going to, just disagree on that. But that was my characterization of my commentary on my article, which is just commentary on an article. So I'm sorry that we're going to disagree on that specific point of commentary on the article, but you can read the article and everything stands very clearly in the story.
Let's end on that note, Taylor, that we do agree to disagree.
Also, read my other reporting.
Yes,
the article
Taylor,
that I published on Friday.
Other than that, I have linked your article in the description about this, the Palantir, and this. I read it. I think this is frankly kind of scary that you can just label anything an ad, and this is paid propaganda. You don't have to say where it's coming from or what the agenda is. So everyone, please go check out Taylor's new article. But anything else, Taylor, that you're shouting out? Any appearances? Any books? I mean, you've written a book, but yeah.
Well, I think Peace already knows what I'm going to say, which is we have to kill these identity verification laws and mass surveillance. We didn't talk about it. It's so frustrating that on a live and learn podcast that we are witnessing the decimation of our rights, of our civil liberties under a fascist people. Much reporting who dedicates my life to covering this stuff in podcast. I'm talking about this podcast. I want every single person from the internet, and it's devastating. It's horrible.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Taylor. I'm going to let you go. We're going to do our little wrap up here. But last question: do you now acknowledge that Hutch is not Dan Saltman?
Okay, I do need to be able to tell the difference between the two, and I'm really sorry. Well, you guys say a lot of the same things.
Oh gosh. All right. Thank you, Taylor.
But I will.
Oh my God. Dude, the webbing, trying to get everybody as like part of the enemy team. Oh my God.
Sure. And now that I've seen you, I will remember it in my memory.
Let me just say, I do appreciate, I respect the fact that you came in here and you agreed to that exchange, and I do respect that. I want to reiterate that I appreciate the fact that you are calling attention to like the issue of money in politics and disclosure. I think it does matter, and I think we need journalists that are covering these things. And so I'll try to be as graceful as I can at the end of this. But I respect you coming on. And
it's fine. We can agree to disagree. But thank you for shouting out. Everybody go to stoponlineidchecks.org, and I'll see you guys there.
Bye, Taylor.
Okay. Bye, guys. Bye.
All right. Well, that was an episode of Live and Learn. How do we all feel about that?
In the books. I mean, I think the centrist point is fucking stupid. That's just my point of view. I have issues with the contractual language of the through thing, but I didn't feel like those were aired. I just think like calling it centrist or not, it's like
it was just indicative of the slant, right? It was what Hutch was trying to point this as like a narrative.
The title is the best.
Yeah, sure.
Focus on the title. Yeah, the title and then the tweet which you did, which was good.
Let me, if you were to steal, man, like what larger point do you think I was making?
No, I understand the point about like bias and stuff, but the factual accuracy point, that's what I thought was bizarre.
It wasn't about bias.
Well, sure it was.
No, it's not about bias. It's about she claimed that her article was about disclosure, and I think her article was about something more meta than that. I think she was painting a narrative, writing a narrative about the big bad establishment, the corrupt establishment centrist pro-Israel shills, and the virtuous like, leftists that were suppressed and frozen out of this
And chorus was just a vector for that.
But that's what I'm saying. It's circumstantial evidence to get to her state of mind in this nefarious intent, and that is exhibited by her.
The only possible way you can ascertain state of mind is circumstantial evidence, unless the person tells you what they're thinking. I'm sorry, how else can you witness a state of mind? What is the direct evidence for somebody's state of mind? Can somebody tell me? What direct evidence do we have? Do we have an empath in the audience?
Using that terminology. But what I have an issue with is like disputing the factual accuracy of it. I mean, that's just like fucking stupid in my mind. I don't think that it's useful.
Do you disagree that that's what she was doing with that article?
I don't disagree that
like the factual accuracy is not. I don't. It's like such a. I don't. I don't even know how to. It's like so painful, dude. Like imagine I'm. What is the name for this? Me and 3 friends all were trying to agree on the best rapper in the world. I thought that Eminem was. Mr. Mooten thought that Eminem was. Dan thought that Eminem was. And then Jerome, who's black, disagreed with us. There's no world where a rational human being would look at that sentence and go, well, hold on, wait, well, factually, is he black? That's like the factual accuracy is almost irrelevant. Not really, right? It is relevant, especially if it's not true. That's even crazier. But like, that's so not the point. Right? And this obsession over, is it factually accurate? Like, is such a toddler way of engaging with language. I don't even know how to like. I don't even know how to engage with such a nonsense statement.
That's what I mean, that's just like fucking stupid in my mind. I don't think that it's useful.
Do you disagree that that's what she was doing with that article?
I don't disagree that that's what she was doing with the article, in fact. And I don't disagree that the title says it all, and that's the framing, yeah.
You understand that centrist is pejorative, and she was using it as a pejorative.
But you were disputing the factual accuracy of that claim. You understand the difference?
Well, because it doesn't matter, though. But also, she was factually incorrect, which makes it even worse, which makes it even more sus, right?
I understand the point about the framing. I agree with you on the framing. No, but she said the factual accuracy point I think is stupid.
She said she didn't insert her opinion. She clearly did a number of times throughout that article. That was one of those times.
Absolutely.
Even that label was an intentional choice based on her opinion.
Are you hearing me, Hutch? I'm not saying that she didn't have opinion and the framing was absolutely biased in ways that you've called out. What I'm saying is disputing the factual accuracy of it. That's what I think is fucking dumb. Like,
well, but it was inaccurate, though. I don't think they ever got to that. I don't think I read anything in the past about her. But he did. It's fine to dispute the factual accuracy if somebody's wrong about the factual accuracy of the article.
Biden calls himself a centrist. You know, he says I'm a centrist Democrat.
She calls herself a progressive, dude. Okay, a progressive. She was an executive like director out of.
What is the what are the circumstances in where Biden is calling himself a centrist Democrat? Because like it matters when that's coming up. Is it like in response to him being called like a socialist or something, or like what is that in response to? Also, centrist Democrat means this, especially and coming from Biden. I feel like that means something a lot different than coming from Taylor Lorenz, right? Like the words will mean different things in different contexts, and they kind of mean different things depending on who they're coming from, right? So I like saying that he calls himself a centrist. So that means that you can call yourself, or you can call him a centrist among your friends when you're using it to bash him. It's just not the same thing. I don't know why I'm explaining this. It's like, this is just like immediately obvious to anybody that can speak a language, assuming you have the faculty in your brain, which you do as a human being. It's granted to you a priori to understand language. I don't even know why I'm explaining this. It's
progressive like think tank, you know, like you
were trying to dispute whether or not she was in fact centrist.
You sound like Tucker.
That was wild. The white nationalist.
Didn't say anything in Hutch's defense piece. So what was that about?
But
no, Hutch is your boy.
She understood the point that I was making. She avoided it like the plague, so much so that she was willing to call AOC and Bernie a centrist. Give me a fucking break. Like, that was ridiculous.
She's the thing is, I think it's more effective to underscore what she is in fact saying. If you underscore the fact that all you mean by centrist is Democrat aligned, well then trivially, right, that would make anybody who's aligned with Boris a centrist.
That's because then that would make AOC and Bernie a centrist.
Okay,
but they got there, didn't they?
I think that's more effective than trying to like suss out whether the in fact accuracy of centrism from some objective stance independent way. I think that is just like an exercise in futility. And
we can't ascertain where on the political spectrum somebody's beliefs would lie. It's impossible. If you ask me to understand if Crockett or Bernie Sanders is more on the left, is further left, or, you know, closer to the center of the average American political belief right now would be Ossoff or Hassan Piker. It's impossible. That's a trivially, or that's a infinitely difficult conversation to have. There's just no way to figure that out. Like,
it makes it, I think it makes a critique not land as much. If you focus on the title, I think in the tweet or whatever, and also like just the structure of it, you know, it wasn't my favorite. I felt bad for IRI, you know, but yeah, no, I have issues with the piece, and I did at the time, and still do, frankly. I don't think there is a satisfying answer on the methodology point that we both raised on the Israel stuff. Like, how are you deciphering whether or not these creators are pro-Israel or not? And it's their lack of comment on genocide, and it's a subset of a subset, and that should have been obvious. I mean, yeah, that's what I mean. But I think the focus on like the weak criticisms, and I think what weak criticism is the factual accuracy of the centrist point. The weak criticism, I think, is also whether the contract forbade the disclosure or not. When there isn't any evidence the contract does not forbid the disclosure, and they have lawyers who are looking at it, and so I trust that it probably does. That's what.
Why would you trust that? Why would you trust that without any? That's a very bombastic claim. That's a big claim.
Trace me, and that's why, you know.
Well, I mean, like, so again, it says like according to the contract, and then it starts with like they're forbidden from disclosing their relationship with Chorus or the 1630 fund. But if she was already aware that influencers had previously, you know, discussed their relationship with Chorus, and
she needs to account for that fact. Yes.
So
that means they're in breach, Hutch. That means they're in breach.
You don't. That's really. But like, listen to how stupid what Pisco's saying is. So that's our assumption. The assumption is that all these people are in breach, and Taylor, even if they were in breach, why doesn't Taylor mention that? Were they punished for it? Were they reprimanded for it? That's a interesting thing to talk about. Were they in breach? Why would you assume that? Is it more likely that all of these content creators were in breach of their contract and Taylor couldn't find any evidence of them being reprimanded? Or is it more likely that she just got it fucking wrong because she's lying about it?
That influencers had previously, you know, discussed their relationship with Chorus, and so
that means they're in breach, Hutch. That means they're in breach.
Or it's not being. Wait, hold on.
That's your
difference between. There's a difference between.
He was about to say something retarded, I think, and he realized it was retarded. He was about to say that's your burden to prove. How it's her article.
The letter of a contract and whether or not it's actually being enforced.
I understand that, yes.
And it's a journalist's job to suss that out and to confirm that the letter of the contract is being enforced. And she didn't do that, and she could have.
One thing is saying that she's not raising.
We could go so far on this. The point is that you agree with us that there is an ideological slant to that she's
100%. That was. Do you guys forget me debating this? Do you forget me debating this issue and me having the stance I do? But the thing is, I think the structure of it is of the interrogation aspect of it. I didn't like it. And I thought some of the points that we were dwelling on were stupid. And I did feel the need to speak up when I felt that there were parts of the article that were just factually accurate and that were just like literally true. And that is a thing that drives me crazy. And I'm always going to speak up on that when I hear that. One last thing I'll say is
there's nothing more sickening than looking at Twitter coming across Jew stalkers sweeping. Actually, I agree with his tweet. Absolutely shameful display from the Lib and Learn podcast tonight. Spending more than an hour discussing the Chorus article without bringing up a single germane issue is disgraceful. If you can't manage the direction of the show without Josiah there, then pack it up. The amount of like insane simping that he does for Hassan, it's got to kill him, dude. It has to eat him up inside. The insane simping that I've seen this guy do for Hassan and all the far lefty people now that he's trying to ingratiate himself with is just wild.
Yeah, in general, I think we all agree on somewhat of the disclosure aspect. We all criticize these rightoids when they all like congregate and don't disclose all the shit that's going on. I think that point should be taken in good stride, and we should encourage people like Brian and David, who I respect, who I like, to do shit like this. And I think Chorus is based, and I think that they should be funding dark money groups to support Democrats all over the place.
Well, I'm still shocked at her scathing criticism of Hassan there. I don't think I've ever heard someone get taken down so hard.
I can't believe she said something so awful about him, though.
He's going to be pissed. Holy shit. And I think that said a lot in her answer there. But she got awfully defensive. I don't know. What's the story there? I did not follow the Chorus thing as closely as you guys, obviously. That's why I stayed out of it. I didn't dare try to change the subject or interject. And you guys seem like you're doing something and you're focused on it, which is fine. But boy, she was super defensive. And I don't know about you, but I'm proud to like talk about whatever I do. You know, I'm not.
Yep. Correct.
She seemed like genuinely pissed.
Yes. Which is so weird too, because like in my opinion, I feel like journalists love to talk about their shit. It's like PhD or master's thesis is like, if you want to ask somebody about it, like people, the chance to talk about and share some piece they've, worked on. I feel like generally journalists are pretty excited to have the opportunity to do that because most people aren't. So yeah, I don't know.
So I purchased that hat for you?
You gave it to me
with money that I use.
What do you mean with money?
Well, where do you think I got it? You think I manifest these hats? They just grow out of my head? No, I paid for that. You got a bribe from me.
Thank you for the sweaty hat off your head.
I wasn't sweating that day. I made sure I got a clean one. All right, guys, what's going on this week? What are we boozing, Hutch? What are you doing?
Just regular stream. Thanks you guys for tuning in. I didn't, I gave you guys a heads up that I did do like literally like fucking 12 hours of prep, and there were so many other things, but we kept getting stuck because I felt like she was being evasive, and I didn't want to like let a lot of that stuff go. But I appreciate you guys giving me that time.
Someone in my chat said I just called her a hysterical woman.
What? Yeah. Do you think she was bossy, Ira?
No, I thought she was incredibly defensive. That's what I thought. which has nothing to do with her gender. So weird.
All right, Guy, what do you got going on this week?
Well, I got interviewed by Rolling Stone this morning.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Pretty cool. They claim that article's coming out, so we'll see what comes of that. But that's it.
Do you talk about the politics at all, or is it all just your?
I did actually. They asked me like it was about me and my connection with the band, and so we talked about what I do. So this might be the first connection to my live streaming and my politics with the role and all that.
What you're saying is Live and Learn got interviewed by Rolling Stone to like kind of, right? Like we're all famous to an extent, is what you're saying.
They might be watching tonight. She said she would check out my stream. So
yeah. Pisco, what's up?
I'm interviewing a candidate for a Democratic race. I'm not gonna announce it just now on Thursday in the morning, which will be fun. It's against an incumbent Democrat, and I'm giving her the space to talk about her case for what.
Against an incumbent Democrat, so it's a socialist, tanky, far lefty, pro-Gaza genocide person and fighting an establishment centristy Dem. Yeah, whatever.
She should win the nomination there. Additionally, also working to do the TikTok debates, get those back up and running right now. But we're doing morning streams this week, and so tune in if you'd like to do that.
And are you collabing with Guy? I saw him triple team people at UFA, so like he's definitely open to having a person next to him.
Listen, I think IRI is like a really good person to have as like a wingman in those debates, or even taking the lead at times. I think he's very like level-headed, and he's really, I think, rhetorically effective in all those contexts. And so I'm always very proud to see IRI like wherever he goes, just stunting and sounding like very reasonable, whatever he gets. Even I think in this interaction with Taylor, I appreciated the way you came at it, which was open-ended. Like, how would you disclose? What standard would you set? And I think that keeping it open like that is very a contrast to me, which is like usually more restrictive. And so I'd like to see it. And so kudos to IRI.
I appreciate it. Also, I'm in a CNN thumbnail, which is cool. America stuff. Yeah.
That's nice.
Thank you, Del Pisco. I appreciate you, bro.
Yeah.
I hope you do your TikTok thing because you bring a different perspective. Everybody's got their own flavor, so the more the merrier, bro.
Pisco, is it true that the picture that IRI and I took that I sent to you, you described us as your Jews?
I certainly did not. No, but I did see someone. I've seen a nickname for you.
All right, I'm going to sleep.